Welcome to the Backlash for real this time. A weekly discussion about the past, present, and future of the Western world. I am your host, Rebecca Hargraves. You might know me from my YouTube channel, Blonde in the Belly of the Beast. I have with me today my co-host, Dave Riley, who's really stressed out right now, just 10 out of 10 stressed out. Vince James, cool as a cucumber. This guy, DGAF, doesn't care at all. And then Cameron, coming from an unknown location. Actually, he talked about it last time, so I'm just joking. Cameron McGregor, thank you for joining us. Sorry about the false start, guys.
Right. Hopefully we're good.
We're good. We're fine.
Hopefully
no more
they
shop
can
talk.
hear us
no
right
more
now.
shop talk. Yeah. No, we're good.
The hot mic potential at the start of every show is the most stressful part of all of this.
I think it's the funniest part.
Is it? Because I'm so stressed out. I'm so stressed out right now. This is just you're doing great, Dave. It's all good. We're gonna have a great show today. We did land on talking about the Unabomber's manifesto. So earlier, when we had no volume, we were talking about how do we land on this? How do we decide what to discuss? And at the beginning of the show,
Anonymous sent $10. How was the date?
at the beginning of the show, we were deciding what we wanted to talk about. And I think that the Unabomber's manifesto covers so many of the societal problems, the overarching societal problems that we have, that at some point we were going to have to talk about it. So we all reviewed it, and I think I got the most out of it upon listening to it this time. I had read it twice before, listened to the audiobook this time, took some notes, and I was like, wow, this guy really on the nose. He was kooky. He was a kooky man, but he had insights into our modern society that I think very few people have captured in the way that he did. So yeah, do you guys want to dive right into it? Is everybody doing okay?
I'm good.
Great. I'm doing great.
How are you, Cameron?
I'm thrilled. Let's jump into this shit.
Okay, everybody's
That's
jazzed.
right.
So this concept of over-socialization, this is what I really wanted to talk about, but he talks about leftists being over-socialized, and so they have this feeling of guilt and self-esteem problems, which is manifested in how they try to impose their sense of morality on other people, and it greatly disrupts their own lives. So I was thinking about this week when this Tiffany Prickett thing happened in Coeur d'Alene. This woman, you guys have probably seen the Libs of TikTok clip, which we'll get to in a second, nuked her business in Coeur d'Alene by talking about Trump supporters being racist, sexist, homophobes. Huge bitch in this clip. And obviously her clientele has just pieced out on her, and her business has totally collapsed, which was a very successful salon in downtown Coeur d'Alene. So this reminded me of this over-socialization thing, because what mindset do you have to be in where you're like, I am going to forego all future income. I'm going to blow up a business that presumably took a really long time to create, just so that I can impose my sense of morality, so that all the people that give me money know that I think that they're immoral. It was just so shocking. I'm like, what are you even doing in Coeur d'Alene? Can we have one place? Can we one place?
Nope.
No, we can't. Do you guys want to watch this clip?
Yeah, sure. Here, let's pull it up.
This chick.
The audio will be good.
So Trump basically gave small men the ability and the courage to be misogynistic and hateful and say shit like your body, my choice, and you won't have a choice,
Nick.
and you will bear my child whether you like it or not. And the comments are so gross. The things that men say to women are so gross. And I don't know why more men don't come to defense of women. I don't know why men witness aggressions towards women and they just stand idly by.
Because
and
it's
do
funny.
Nothing. I don't understand it, because in my many years of existing as a woman, I've only had it happen twice, where I went to a man and expressed that I was uncomfortable, or this man was making me uncomfortable, or this man did something, where they actually stood up to them. Most of the time, men just shrug it off like, oh, that's your problem, or you can take care of yourself, which I fucking can. But I don't understand why more men don't have the courage to stick up to these small men who think that they can do whatever they want and say whatever they want.
She says that's disgusting. You know what's disgusting?
And I'm fucking sick of
Pause it for
I
a
just
second.
fucking don't-
You know what's disgusting? The fact that women, all she cares about, like all women care about right now, is their ability to like murder babies.
Yeah.
Like that.
No, that's not true. It's also to get men to do what they want to do.
Well, yeah. I mean, have you seen some of the videos like people have been posting on Twitter of like these like ultrasounds of babies just like being pulled apart,
Oh, it's horrible. Yeah.
like limb by limb and like sucked out of the womb? It's crazy. I mean, like women are using it as a form of contraception right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if
And
that's her platform. I
disgusting.
assume that that's what she cares about the most.
Well,
though.
that's what she's talking. Like that's what most of her
Base dollar
videos are
send
about.
$100. What kind?
She's talking about that, and she's talking about the LGBT issues as well. That's a big.
And she's fat too, which you can't tell from her videos because
Oh,
she
is she really?
films. Yeah, she filmed from like her tits up. She's like
Smart.
fat. And there's one because like I know how TikTok works, right? As a creator, you can choose a cover photo for like your videos. And if you look at her TikTok, I don't know if you can pull up her TikTok, but if you look at her TikTok, you look at all her videos. They're all like from the tits up, except for one single video where she chose the cover of her putting on a bra. And she's fat.
What's her
And
TikTok?
It's
How do I find this?
Tiffany something. Well, actually, there's a link in the
You're right.
in the Google Doc, but it's she's fat and
Wow, I would have had no idea.
yeah,
Huh.
because
Interesting.
you can't really tell from.
Oh God.
Yeah, I wonder if you can go to her, scroll down on her videos real quick. Keep scrolling until you see one in like a bra. It's fairly recent. It's like not, you might have passed it, but maybe not. I don't know. But you can see she's like
How often does
And I'm
she
not-
post?
a lot.
A lot, yeah.
What is wrong with these?
Her
people?
most viral videos are the ones where she's talking about Trump supporters.
Yeah, naturally.
Which is reinforcing her own delusions by delivering dopamine.
Yeah,
Oh
whatever.
yeah. There's a whole body shot, I guess, right?
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
you're right.
Dude, she's huge.
Bruh.
She does not have the face of a fat woman.
Is she
Yeah.
wearing braces?
She
It
was.
looks like it.
Oh my.
Yeah, she's fat.
But she's a single
Great.
mom of 3, so I would guess that she really needs this income. This was spectacularly stupid of
Yeah.
her. Well, it wasn't stupid. She knew what she was doing. I think in that one video that went viral, she's like, I don't care if I lose clients.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
she admitted in like a follow-up video that she's lost the clients because of her own behavior, and then like doubled down on it. I mean, and you see that with a lot of these people that are up here. I mean, the MSNBC nation, right? That just all they consume is liberal media. All they consume is TikTok and hang out with their liberal friends. They're in an echo chamber that is absolutely airtight. And the moment that they come up against the real world, instead of reevaluating where they're at,
Yeah.
they have to double down. They have to, and it's actually I think it's a trait of narcissist personality.
Yeah.
Because narcissists can't admit when they're wrong. They can't admit if they ever lied. And there was a video that just came out a couple days ago with a guy kind of analyzing the left and noting how self-centered these people are.
Well,
They're like
it's-
suicidal.
It's hard to tell because social media has led the average woman to have histrionic personality disorder. And so you meet these average Gen Xers, or not Gen Xers actually, but Gen Z millennials. And you think that they probably all have cluster B personality disorders or whatever, but really they're just addicted to social media and the dopamine.
Yeah,
But this woman seems insane.
yeah. I mean, I think that most of these types of people would seem insane to people like us.
Yeah.
Cameron, why do you think that like liberals have like this like I call it a bumper, like I coined the term bumper sticker worldview, where like their entire worldview is centered around bumper sticker phrases like Black Lives Matter, no human is illegal, diversity is a strength, and these things that don't mean anything, and these things that when tested are completely and entirely untrue. And then they feel the need to sort of it's almost become like their religion. And like how it ties into the Unabomber's manifesto as well. You have anything to say? You've been quiet.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's rather noteworthy right off the bat is that a lot of left-oriented thinking, and I'll elaborate on this later on. Hopefully, we can talk about what's happening in France because I think we're sort of at the end of this leftist hysteria for various reasons. But a lot of people on that side of the ledger suffer from what psychologists call an external locus of control. Uh, in leftist parlance, it's the oppression paradigm, right? I'm a victim. I'm oppressed. There's some external force that I cannot control. And the irony is that Kaczynski succumbed to the same thing. Eventually, he concluded that the system was so far gone that he lost control and he lashed out at it. He became the very thing that he condemned. And it's important to note why that happened to Kaczynski in particular. And it happened to him. And frankly, this is not unique to the left. It's a mistake for people to think it is. There are a lot of people on the right, I see it all the time, who fall into a self-destructive doomerism because of external locus of control. They believe the system cannot be overcome, it cannot be defeated. And the central connecting tissue with all of it that all of these people miss is that ultimately the life that we lead is a human system, meaning that by virtue of being human beings, we have some degree of power over it. Women as a group have tremendous power. The oldest lie ever told by feminists is that women have no power. That is absurd. Women have tremendous power in every society, and they have throughout human history. But these people fall into a self-destructive feedback loop in which they believe that they're up against some insurmountable system that can't be interacted with, that can't be changed by human activity. And that's a flawed understanding, because every system that we interact with, whether it's artificial intelligence or it's the political structure, what is it? It's a human system, which means it's subject to our individual empowerment. So Kaczynski essentially succumbed to the same thing that this woman has and self-destructed.
I'm going to push back a little bit on this, though, because Ted Kaczynski did say that you can't reform systems like this because you can't get people emotionally involved. You can't get them excited about reform. And that is where revolution comes in, because people will give up everything for revolution. And I think that he's right about that, especially with regard to technological advancement. It's like, what are we supposed to do? Piecemeal take away this system or try to change it from within? What he really wanted us to do was to just wholesale go back to an agrarian society, which of course is never going to happen. But I do think that he's right about people really not putting themselves on the line for the notion of reform. Anyone?
So just a couple things on that. If you look at the top Fortune 100 companies in the world, you go back to the 1950s, virtually all of them are different today. Every single one. And typically systems that become the most dominant self-sabotage. They either succumb to obsolescence or they're simply mismanaged and run into the ground. He's right that systems don't tend to reform themselves. They tend to self-destruct. And it's when they self-destruct that ultimately they need to be reformed. And obviously, my argument to all of you folks, and I would say the central motif of the argument of my channel, is that we have reached such a point in the Western world. But what a lot of people do, which is what Kaczynski did, is they conflate the future of humanity, the future of the West, with the system. That's not the case. The future of any society, of any civilization, is the humanity that populates it. That's what he's lost. And with this woman in Idaho, I don't know who she is, but again, by virtue of this external locus of control, we're no longer human beings to her, right? We are part of a system that she cannot control and therefore must be destroyed.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
She runs this beauty salon in this North Idaho. It's like 99%, like conservative.
Yeah, I mean, 70 consistently 70% vote for like the most hard right extreme conservatives.
And it's only getting redder.
And it's only getting better.
Right. And it's only getting more conservative. And
Yeah.
she decides to go on TikTok and get millions of views of her like calling Trump supporters like racist or something. It's the most retarded thing ever. The Ted Kaczynski's manifesto, didn't that come about because he promised the police that he would tell them where one of the bombs was if they published his manifesto in the New York Times? Isn't that how that happened?
Well, he said he would stop killing people.
Right, and then they published it, and it became
Right.
like a New York Times bestseller, right?
Yes.
Right.
And if he didn't do that, then this would never exist.
Well, I mean, it would have existed, but it wouldn't have been popularized
Right.
in any way. My issue is, how should I say this? It is true that nobody would have read the manifesto if he didn't kill anybody, but he was killing like laymen. Couldn't he have been like
He wasn't just he wasn't
some of the
just
work,
killing.
a postal worker, and some other people, a woman just getting her mail, like a lot of people.
It appears, though, that he was intending to target certain people that were very active in the development of new technologies, like computer technology, and like one of his victims was a computer repair store. Another guy worked for some big corporation. So maybe it wasn't the best targeting that he
Well, he didn't hit his intended targets most of the time.
It wasn't indiscriminate.
I don't know. I mean,
One thing that really stuck out from his manifesto, this is going to sound like the stupidest thing, but the one thing that stuck out to me from reading his manifesto was where he talked about how when it's like 2 a.m. and no one's on the road and you stop at a red light and you don't go through the red light no
Right.
matter what.
No matter what.
Like,
Yeah.
And that's
talk-
before
yeah.
traffic cameras.
Yeah.
That was before all the automated stuff like that.
And so since I read that, every time I'm on the road at like 2 a.m. and no one is around, no one is looking, and I'm on some like farm road, I go through the red light just because of that one line in his manifesto.
but don't you think that all of this was a kind of post hoc rationalization because he was having a hard time dealing with his total inability to interact with society in a normal way?
No, I don't think it's necessarily. Well, but why wasn't he able to interact with society in a normal way?
For a variety of reasons. I mean, he probably
There's a primary reason, though. And the primary reason isn't that he was a genius. It's not that he had a 173 IQ. It's that he was tortured when he was at Harvard University. And I don't know if a lot of people know that. Ted Kaczynski, when he was 16 years old, got into Harvard. He was a freshman, and I can't remember the name of the professor at the moment. I could look it up, not while I'm talking. But his professor offered a trial, like a test, right? A study for students to participate in, and they would load him up on LSD and then play horrifying videos to gauge his emotional reactions. And then they would film him in the chair on drugs, watching the stimulus.
So he was MK Ultra.
And then they would film it back to him. Exactly. It was actually MK Ultra. It was a part of some research that was being done by the Josiah Macy Jr. Foundation, was it von Neumann and Theodor Adorno, Max Horkheimer, a lot of those Frankfurt School people. This all actually ties into the authoritarian personality study, which was done in the 60s or 70s.
But if you listen
He
to
was so he was tortured, right? He was tortured using technology in a way to get him to break down his prior conceived notions and his religious beliefs, and that was traumatizing for him as a kid. And so he's clearly seeing the agenda playing out over his lifetime.
right. He
That's
had
what
a pre-existing
radicalized him.
antisocial personality disorder, though, because he was separated from his parents because he had some kind of viral illness when he was 4. And I think he was away from them, no contact, for several weeks. And his parents have said that once they got him back from the hospital after that, he was never the same. Yeah.
Wow.
So there were a lot of factors at play. But of course, the experiment, I'm sure, was deeply traumatizing to him.
Yeah.
I know we have a clip you wanted to play, Dave, but I wanted to ask Cameron something. So, when you're talking about how the entire system breaks down, like inevitably, I think throughout history we've seen the entire system just fall. Right? There's this great study that was done. It was called Mouse Utopia, right? Where this guy put in like 2 healthy rats, and it grew into like 200 rats, and then eventually all the rats turned gay and like literally turned gay and like started eating each other. And then you had the people who just sort of like became antisocial and just started grooming themselves, and then eventually everyone died and the entire system collapsed. So I think what does that look like in terms of technology though? Do you think that, because he was right in a way that we become slaves to the machines, we become slaves to technology, and technology begins to control us. And he predicted this way back, before like the internet, basically. When we talk about systems collapsing and then a revolution coming about, and we've talked a lot about third parties and things like that, how does that look in terms of technology, Cameron?
Well, again, and certainly I think a lot of people agree with what you just said, that people have been negatively affected, maybe controlled by technological systems, right? And there is evidence to support that. I think, as you know, Vince, have consistently taken the other side of that. And I repeatedly say to people, is it that AI assimilates us or that we assimilate AI? If you look at dating as an example, okay, so a lot of people today, and we're going to talk about this later, but there is probably about a third of men today, okay, that are sexless, that reach about 30 and have never had sex.
A third
and there's
of
a lot
men?
of
A third,
evidence
yeah,
that
there was a
they
study.
they've never had exposure to the opposite sex, okay? I mean, they've never really been socialized with them at all.
So women
which
are
is
just
an
doing the
extremely high number.
same group of men. Women are just doing the same group of
Well,
men over and over again, basically.
Yeah, well, yeah. So, but why is that? Okay. Now, a lot of people have suggested that the reason for that is because of online dating. However, what online dating has done basically is it's just amplified natural female choice. Females naturally select people based on height and income and other discriminators that favor the top echelon of people. So it's not so much that the technology has created the distortion. Certainly it's exacerbated it, but what it's really done is it's amplified human characteristics more so than they already were before. Now, I'm not saying that's not a problem. I think it is a problem, but there's something interesting that's happened, okay? Because the doomerism in the manosphere is that this is just going to continue until the whole sexual marketplace, I guess you would call it the biosphere, collapses. But guess what? That's not happening. There's a lot of evidence that people are no longer using dating sites, in particular, women. Now, why are they doing that? Why haven't they been assimilated by the system? Because they haven't been assimilated by it. They're divesting from it because it's not functional for them. It's not working anymore. And they're reverting back to the very human interactions that once facilitated marriage, child rearing, all the rest of it. Now, again, I'm not saying there isn't collateral damage that's been done here, okay? Like using a nuclear weapon. What I am saying, however, and this is what Kaczynski got wrong, is that there's an interaction between the two, right? And that interaction emanates from the power of humanity that human beings have. But I do think that Rebecca's 100% right. In part, this guy self-destructed because he was a misfit, he was hyper advanced, and therefore his ability to relate his personal experiences to other people was compromised. And the guy self-destructed as a result. And that happens. I've seen it happen with a lot of highly capable, highly intelligent, you might call them super empowered individuals. That's what Thomas Friedman called them 20 years ago, right? He talked about terrorists.
Today we just call
super-empowered
them
individuals. I don't know that I would use that term for terrorists, but certainly Kaczynski was a hyper talented individual,
Right.
and that often happens.
Right. So go ahead. Sorry.
Today we just call them autistic.
Tismy, yeah. But that makes us ask the question, what is the merit of training children to conform to society? And how do you balance teaching them what they need to work within the society while still having the ability and the skills to, like you said, divest or to rage against that society if there's some kind of collapse? I mean, how do we even strike that balance?
Yeah, there is a balance, to be sure. So there's a good book that was written years ago by Judith Harris called The Nurture Assumption. And the book basically argues that parenting doesn't make that much impact on your children, okay?
That's reassuring.
However, what does make a lot of impact on your children, guess what, is your peer group. Now, again, this gets back to Kaczynski, right? Because Kaczynski was basically, hey, I'm an individual. Everybody else is a lemming that's been assimilated by the system, this industrial complex, and therefore I've got to destroy the system or else individuals like me will collapse. But that's a false binary, right? In other words, we're all sort of on a spectrum. Some of us are more individualistic than others. However, what is that social multiplier effect? And this is your question, Rebecca. What is the continuity that allows us to push back? It's the people. It's your ethnos, right? Again, what is America, right? Is it just a random set of individuals that come together to make market transactions? That's what both parties say, right? Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. No, it's not. It is ultimately a product of the white ethnos. The white ethnos creates that counterbalancing force. And that's ultimately the source of MAGA, whether Donald Trump and his cohort understand it.
Yeah.
Going back to that chick from the salon who like did, by the way, is her salon like closed now?
I don't know.
I know she's shut down the website, right?
She has shut down the website. Yeah.
There's
Right.
no way that she's getting like business.
No,
like,
I'm
enough to
pretty
stay-
sure-
to
I'm
pay
pretty-
the rent there.
I'm
Like,
pretty
the-
sure that she had to leave and get a job at Chipotle.
like
Ruh-roh.
literally, like she said that in a video.
She
like
said that in a video. And they, by the way, just opened a brand new Chipotle right down the road.
Yeah,
In
I'm
Coeur
excited.
d'Alene?
On 41.
No way.
Yeah, it's right
I'm
over
excited.
on
It's
41.
not. It's not. You know, it's a small piece of happiness. The Chipotle, Chick-fil-A. It's not as good as the food we had in Chicago, which we'll talk about later. But I do want to say something about this chick. Like, she is the epitome of like leftism, where they're just like totally like suicidal, right? Because I'm sure that she believes in the whole like diversity is a strength and no human is illegal and all this shit. Like, if you were to take, like right now, we live in a really nice place, right? But if you were to take the same amount of people, what do we have, like 150,000 people in Kootenai County or something like that? If you were to take the same amount of people, 120,000, randomly selected from like Los Angeles, and replace them with the 120,000 people we have in Kootenai County, do you think that would be better? Do you think this place would be better? Or would it be worse?
It would be worse.
Be more dangerous or less dangerous? Would there be more graffiti or less graffiti? Would there be more gangs or less gangs? Would there be more rape or less rape? You know, she's always talking about violence against women. Would there be more? Like, I mean, it would. Like, this is just objective, right? It would be worse. It would be way, way worse, and people wouldn't be wanting to move here like they are. So it's like these people just have this like, I don't know if they don't see it, or if their dogma is just too, like they're just like too, it's their religion and so they can't go against their religion, or if they're just like totally suicidal. I never understood it. I don't think I will ever understand them.
Well,
Socialization is crucial. And this is what I think Kaczynski really got right. And I know Rebecca keyed on this as well, because as you say, Vince, this is a classic example of a very fragile person that absorbs a lot of this poison and then self-destructs as a result of it. That being said, again, and I cannot emphasize this enough, if you go back to the 1960s and you fast forward today, okay, the white population in the United States has moved consistently to the right.
Right.
Now, how is that possible? How is that possible? Because we have been socialized more than all the rest of these people. And furthermore, if the socialization can take hold as effectively as it did with this woman, and you could scale that to the whole population, guess what? You don't need mass immigration anymore, because you could just convert the white population into the lemmings and implement your agenda anyway. The socialization didn't really work, okay, for most of us. However, it did work for the elites. And that's why we are in the moment we're in. They're not too clever by half. They have been over-socialized. They've been institutionalized, as Kaczynski said. And that's exactly why they're self-sabotaging, which is exactly what this woman did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think maybe technology plays a part for the positive, right? In that if we didn't have technology, if we didn't have our accounts, if we didn't have X, if we didn't have YouTube back in the good old YouTube days, if we didn't have, you know, some part in TikTok and some Instagram and so forth, that we wouldn't be able to push back on a lot of what the mainstream media has been saying and what the mainstream media has been pushing and what education has been pushing on people. I go back to like...
Exactly.
Right, you go back to like Nick, remember the Covington Catholic kids?
yes, of course.
So I was on YouTube back then, and I produced. It was me, and there was this guy Buds131. Do you guys remember this guy? He was like a ex-Navy SEAL or something, and he would do like a bunch of videos. He had a huge channel. He would do like a bunch of videos on stolen valor. And him and I had like the top 2 videos on the Covington Catholic Kids back then, talking about how the media was lying about them. His channel got deleted. Oof. My channel shortly, not too long after that, got deleted. But basically, the media had to come out because that narrative, that counter narrative, went so viral on that platform and other platforms. The media had to basically come out and admit, like, yeah, we lied. This dude wasn't a Vietnam veteran. This is not what happened. You know, same goes for so many other stories that we have pushed back on and proven incorrect. So technology is good. Technology is bad.
Technology is, well, and this is something that I kind of wanted to talk about. Technology isn't, in my opinion, inherently good or bad, right? When you look at Catholic, when you look at Catholic moral theology, and you start looking at whether or not something is good or evil, and you're looking at an inanimate object, like let's say heroin, right? Is heroin good or evil? Well, if you're like a heroin addict that's trying to get off of it, you're going to say to yourself, oh, this stuff is evil. But it's not. It's not, because you could use that in a different setting for a specific use that it was intended for, which would be pain relief in like a medical setting if you get shot or something like that, right? In that situation, heroin's good. It's good to use it to kill the pain so you can do an operation. When you're sitting under a bridge in Chicago and you're nodding out and you've lost your house, but that's not inherent to the drug or the creature itself.
I think the analogy would be better if you just went back to the poppy plant. Like the poppy plant is not inherently good or bad.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, like a rock, right? A rock isn't inherently good or bad. You could use the rock as a paperweight, or you could use it to like murder your wife. Your wife, Jack. Sorry.
True. She gets out of line.
But so technology itself, just like any other creature, you could call it, is not inherently good or bad. It's about how you use it. And that's actually something that I do take issue with Kaczynski's worldview because of that. However, there is a really good argument that he made in his manifesto, the car argument, and it's a different one. It's not just the red light. Basically, the idea is like
you have to use
a new
car.
technology comes out. You can voluntarily choose to use that if you want to or not. You don't have to use a cell phone. You don't have to use a laptop, right? But with cars, as we saw, you could choose to keep your horse and keep your buggy or whatever it is. But at a certain point, cars became so predominant and prevalent in society that the way that we actually designed our cities changed. We made it so that it wasn't that you could walk to the corner store or the laundromat. Now you have to get in your car and drive down a road that was built without any sidewalks, 2 miles to get to a strip mall and back, right? So now it's like I'm thinking specifically about a town, Enid, Oklahoma. I was in Enid while I was reading the manifesto. I think this was in 2018. And I was staying at a hotel, and it's like, I've got to catch an Uber. I can't go anywhere by foot. It's all 5 miles outside of town in a strip mall. And that's kind of when it sank in for me that no matter what you personally do, if you choose not to use the technology, eventually, if enough people are using it, you will have no choice but to use it.
But it's not just that. He did have a deeper understanding of the nature of humans. So he talks a lot about surrogate activity and biological needs. And he's right that as soon as we have access to technology, we are tapping out of those biological needs, which give us fulfillment. And it changes our relationship to other humans, our relationship to ourselves, and we have to engage in all these surrogate activities. I mean, he's right about that, but I think that your point is well taken. Like in today's society, you cannot avoid engaging in technology. Ted Kaczynski couldn't avoid engaging in technology. He used technology to build his bombs. He had his little bike that he made himself, and he would ride it into town and he'd go to the library and everything. Like even he wasn't able to do it. And I think that he's not totally transparent about that. Right. He's like, the only way we can deal with this is absolute destruction of all technology.
Well, actually, I was just looking in the book, and I won't be able to pull it up that quick, but there was a section about that, about how revolutionaries should use technology to spread their message.
Oh, while you're finding that, Cam, you wanted to say something about that? Cameron?
Oh, yeah. No, I was just going to say that Kaczynski's not wrong, but you can infinite redux that argument. In other words, as soon as fire comes along, you got to use fire. Okay. As soon as agriculture comes along, you got to use agriculture.
Well, it's the same
as
with
soon as the
gunpowder.
wind blows,
Yeah.
yeah, gunpowder, whatever. Everything is a form of adaptation. All right. Everything is, you always have to account for variable change. Now, Ted Kaczynski, I think, was making a slightly different argument. He was making the same argument that people like Elon Musk make, which is that AI, as an example, has achieved escape velocity. It's developing so quickly, it's evolving so fast that we don't really have the time and the space to assimilate it without it sort of taking control. Okay. I quibble with that because I think you're right, Dave. Ultimately, AI, or the industrial system that Kaczynski talked about, it all depends on humanity. It still is a human system. It depends upon how we interact with it. Now, I suppose I could be wrong. Maybe these things have achieved escape velocity beyond my knowledge, but I've seen no evidence of that. Ultimately, it still depends upon our leveraging that technology. Until that changes, it's just another variable.
Yeah, humans play a part for sure. Like you could even argue that sometimes they're intentionally sort of sculpturing the world to force people to use a certain technology, right? I mean, for a long time, you can get away with using the flip phone, but they don't want you to use a flip. You know,
I still know people that use a flip phone today.
It's hard though. It's hard. And
go to confession. Go to confession a couple too many times with a certain sin, and your priest might tell you to get one.
Like the IRS now forces you to use ID.me to file taxes.
When you go fly, they want to take your picture. Right?
I mean,
you need to do the biometric ID.
And like that's why you have all these old people struggling with their cell phone. They have to use the new And sometimes that's intentional because they want to push some sort of agenda or some sort of idea on you or something. Go ahead. Did you find the section or?
Not. I mean, so I found a couple of interesting paragraphs. Let me see if I can. One of them is paragraph 202. It would be hopeless for revolutionaries to try and attack the system without using some modern technology. If nothing else, they must use the communications media to spread their message. But they should use modern technology for only one purpose: to attack the technological system.
Perfect.
Okay, well, at least that's logically consistent.
I mean, that's basically what we're doing.
Well,
Except,
and I was going to say, here's paragraph 204. Revolutionaries should have as many children as they can. There is strong scientific evidence that social attitudes are to a significant extent inherited. I can't read today. No one suggests that a social attitude is a direct outcome of a person's genetic constitution, but it appears that personality traits tend, within the context of our society, to make a person more likely to hold this or that social attitude. Objections to these findings have been raised, but objections are feeble and seem ideologically motivated. In any extent, blah, blah, blah. Children tend, on average, to hold the attitudes of their parents. From our point of view, it
until they get to
matter
college.
It doesn't matter. So anyway, have kids. He's right about that.
Yeah.
He's right about that.
Yeah, he was right.
Yeah, and again, what Vince said is 100% right. Ultimately, technology is a tool, and you got to leverage it, which is what the alternative media has done. If you go back to the early 90s and you look at a group called the cypherpunks, the cypherpunks were well advanced at their time. So for those of you who do not know, these were a group of people primarily based in Silicon Valley that ultimately understood that the banking system was extremely concentrated and could be used as a surveillance system. All right. So they wanted to create a decentralized money system based on blockchain technology, and they did. They created Bitcoin. That was ultimately the product of that. So again, Kaczynski's failure was to recognize that this is not a separate block that we cannot interact with. But as I said, I think he was 100% right on over-socialization and his characterization of the typology of the left that has completely succumbed to this sort of poisonous, self-destructive nonsense. By the way, I don't think anybody has termed it better than what Oh man, it escapes my memory. Roger Cruton, I think is his name. He called it the nonsense machine. It's exactly what it is. It's a nonsense machine, and it takes hold of people and it destroys them.
Mm-hmm. And Kaczynski, he had some stuff to say on conservative values as well, which we're totally right on. He said that they're inherently hypocritical and that technological progress and economic growth, they're antithetical to conservatism and small social groups because modern society makes us move away so that we seek better economic opportunities. It weakens family ties. And then your loyalty has to be to the system first. Because if you disrupt that, you're going to disrupt your family, you're going to disrupt your money stream. And I think he's right about that. He even talks about the Constitution and how that really only preserves freedoms when the idea of freedom is that you can have certain freedoms within the confines of our specific society. And then he makes the very good point that people living in monarchist societies back in the day probably had more freedoms because it was absent surveillance, and then they didn't have the broad structure of enforcement that we have now. And so he's like, it doesn't really matter what kind of government structure it is. It matters how much laws are being enforced, what the ethos is like. And I think that he was definitely right about that.
I think we have more freedom here in Kootenai County than we like in Chicago, where we went to, obviously.
Yeah.
Right? Like when I've talked about this before. I think I talked about this with you, Cam. You know, when we talk about freedom, people are like, oh, we want more freedom. We want more freedom. We have there's too many police in this area or whatever. We just want more freedom. It's like, well, sometimes authority, you can only get freedom from, when there is order. Right? If you have disorder in your society and everyone's just doing whatever they want to do, then there ends up being less freedom, right? Like in a place like Chicago, there's a lack of authority, there's a lack of order, and so parents are afraid to let their kids just roam around and play because they might get kidnapped or they might get raped or they might get shot or they might join a gang or whatever. So there's disorder. So sometimes there has to be order. Order has to come first, and then freedom can come, right? Like I think a lot of this,
it's a precondition,
right?
I was even going to say that there's also a distinction that has been lost on modern society, and that's the difference between freedom and license, right? When people say freedom today, they really mean license. They don't mean freedom. Freedom is the ability to do what you ought to do. Right? It's the ability to fulfill your social role as let's say a father of a family. You need to be able to provide for your family, protect your family, go to church, raise your kids in the faith, right? That's what you ought to do. And freedom is the ability to do that, right? It's the ability to do those things. License, on the other hand, is the ability to do whatever you want. Right? It's the ability to have sex with as many women as you want, sleep around, do drugs, go rob somebody. That's license. And we have lost the difference between those two words.
We've given away too many licenses. In my opinion, I think a lot of this just stems from like men just have to get women under control again, to be honest. Like a lot of the stuff that we're seeing in society today stems from first wave feminism, second wave feminism, third wave. People say, oh, third wave's the bad wave. It's like all waves of feminism. Like everything that we're seeing right now, from divorce to broken families, contraception, abortion, all of these things is the liberalization of society. A lot of it really stems from the liberalization of women, to be honest.
Yeah, why'd you guys do that? That was dumb.
I know. We need to get you under control. Quiet down over there. Let me talk. Let me finish. So I was just thinking about in cities, like you have all these black people complaining about, there's too many police. They're always stopping us. They're like, stop and frisk was like a racist policy. It's like, well, it's like stop committing crime. Like order is a precondition for freedom. And the reason why I feel free to walk outside right now and get into my car in a dark alley in Kootenai County is because we have a very homogenous, high trust society that's very low crime. And there's order.
That's a long way to say that there are no black people here.
Well, yeah, and that too. And on that note, by the way, There's always people are always talking about how like blacks commit more crime or higher crime rate because they're poor, right? We always hear this argument. There's always some argument, right? It's that goes back to like white people being at fault, like there's the lead paint in their home or something, like it's because the lead paint and it gets into their brain and that's why they commit more crime, or they're poor because of segregation or whatever. But every time you look at like one of these big things where like black people are committing crime, like George Floyd or Michael Brown, they're always spending money. Have you noticed that? They're always they're committing crime because they're poor, but they're always spending money. Like George Floyd was buying a banana. Michael Brown was buying cigarillos. Trayvon Martin was buying Skittles. And then you see these random shootings that happen on the news, and they're like shooting each other over like hot sauce at like KFC or something.
Racist.
They're all, they're poor, but that's why they commit more crime. But they're always spending. They're always spending.
Well, we know that
always
this is untrue because poor white people don't commit crime at the same rate as black people.
But then they steal stuff. So they buy the food, they buy the clothes, but then they steal the deodorant. So obviously they don't need too much. Anyway, go ahead.
Sorry, we're a little off.
Don't forget about the Jordans, man.
Yeah,
you gotta have the
but they
Jordans.
buy those. Like a lot of their money is spent on that. They
Or
buy the clothes.
They loot some of it too.
They lose some of it too, but
it's a social status thing, right? Depending on what Jordans you have, you're high in that social status. I, being a white guy from the suburbs, obviously am very well versed in that ethnic culture.
yes,
The Shah of Iran, the Shah of Iran once said, because he was asked why he was autocratic, and he said, "When Iranians learn to behave like Swedes, I will behave like the king of Sweden." All right. Now, what does that mean? It echoes what you said, Vince. Ultimately, governments and systems, again, back to Kaczynski, right? Industrial models, whatever, they reflect humanity. They reflect the ethnos, not the other way around. So this is a persistent problem, by the way, on the conservative right. It's why I am not a conservative, because ultimately conservatives have become communists. They believe in principle that the United States has figured out the system. It's called the Constitution. And if we just roll this system out in Zimbabwe, all of a sudden we're going to have the 51st state in Zimbabwe. That is not the case, because ultimately people revert to the mean. It all comes back to the human system. That is the key.
Right. And we're having that problem in the United States as multiculturalism gets worse because we can't be governed in the same way as other ethnic groups. And so the law keeps getting reformed so that it applies to the lowest common denominator. And we're seeing this with Daniel Penny right now. I mean, the last that I heard.
Well, justice was done in his case.
well, they got the top charge dropped, but
Did
the
they?
fact
I thought it was a mistrial.
I thought he walked free.
No,
he walked free. It was a
the
mistrial.
manslaughter was. But when they have a mistrial, don't they try to
They might
try
try
it
him
again?
I guess.
Yeah.
they might.
Yeah.
Oh, it
but-
was dismissed.
Yeah, the top charge was dismissed. So now he's facing, but he could still do like some prison time, but it's probably going to be probation. But the fact that this was a trial at all
That's so great.
just goes to like now they have to do like Chauvin should be like free right now. The fact that like this was a thing at all just goes to show you that we just need to sort of like wash our hands of these places and just let them freaking kill each other. Like I don't know. This is like a perfect segue for what we want to talk about next.
Yeah,
I don't
sure.
Unless you want to play that Unabomber clip.
Here's what I'm going to do. Instead of playing the Unabomber clip, I'm going to say you need to go watch a very interesting documentary called Das Netz, DASNETZ. It's in German. It was a German documentary that was put out in 1993. It's about LSD, the Unabomber, and the authoritarian personality, because all of these are intricately linked, both from the deploying of LSD with the hippie movement, the MK Ultra testing that Ted Kaczynski was in fact subjected to while he was at Harvard University, but also it kind of shows you who some of these people behind the scenes are. Theodor Adorno, Max Horkheimer, Gregor von Neumann or whoever it was with the Macy conference or whatever. So it's really fascinating to go in there to watch this documentary. Das Netz, I can probably post a link on my Twitter and you can see it there. But we'll suffice it to say,
can they find it on?
It's on YouTube.
On
it
YouTube
is on
still?
YouTube. You can pull it up, and so lots of very interesting information, especially because a lot of these experiments, specifically with MKUltra, were designed to figure out how to eradicate anti-Semitism from the minds of Europeans, short of a lobotomy.
So
That was their goal.
Plan B is just replace for Europeans. And
Yeah, really.
Yeah, that's the point of the point of a thing is what it does, right?
Do you think a lobotomy would even work on us?
Yep.
wait, there was something I tweeted out.
Bring it.
Let me see if I can find it here real quick. I tweeted this out, like talking about replacement. There was someone, I think it was, here it is right here. From the Jerusalem Post, it says, opinion, Poland's lack of Jewish influence to blame for bigoted stance against non-white immigration and toxic national pride.
Toxic national pride.
This is 1968 Polish political crisis saw government, military, and institutional positions purged of Poles of Jews or Jewish origin and led to an expulsion of almost all Jews. So when you say like MKUltra was, plan A, maybe plan B was socialization, taking over the internet, taking over the media, making sure that certain messages go out so that people don't end up this way. Plan C is replacing them, and
I guess Plan D is a nuclear bomb, huh?
Nuclear war. Yeah, I don't know.
Just never.
Yeah, but again, this is I'm glad you brought this up, Vince, because this point is so crucially important, and it is analogous to what's happening in Israel as we speak. Right now, the Israeli military is, as everybody on the panel knows, they're trying to ethnically cleanse Israel. They want to wipe out the Palestinian genome.
They're trying to
completely.
ethnically cleanse
completely
Palestine.
Correct. That's right. Now their thinking is, the Israelis and the Jewish psyche, if you will, is that by doing so, they will send a message to the rest of the region that ultimately we have established, we've consolidated ourselves, and we are changing hearts and minds. We're destroying the opposition to us by doing so. Same thing they're doing in Lebanon, okay? And in fact, what is it doing? It's doing the opposite, right? Again, if you want to create nationalism in a country, what do? Flood it with foreigners, right? So they don't understand what they're doing. And why? Because they don't understand the human system that they're interacting with. They believe, which is a precept of communism, that human beings are basically test subjects that can be reprogrammed. We cannot be. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
We can't be socialized that way, right? It ultimately boomerangs.
I feel like white people are less likely to be socialized than anyone else.
We have all these
do you
leftists, though, that have been propagandized effectively.
I just feel like, I don't know, maybe through college, through education, maybe that was an effective form of socialization for them, or I think a lot of it is really women, to be honest, because if only men voted, the entire country would be like red, aside from like California, I think it was.
Okay, then get women under control. What do you want
I know.
me to do?
I've been trying to get you under control all night. You just keep talking. You're just supposed to sit here and just look at the camera. I'm just joking.
No. I showed up today and they're like, "Why aren't you wearing a lower cut shirt?"
No one said that.
Disavow!
Okay. So what was I? Where was I even going with this? Oh, so the I feel like white people are always the one, like if you look at all the people who were against COVID, who were speaking out against the lockdowns and all that stuff, it was mostly like white people throughout the entire West, right? Even in America, it was mostly white people. I feel like they know this, right? That importing a third world people is also importing a people that's more likely going to transform into a slave class, right? Or going to be easier to transform into a slave class. And I think we've talked about this on the show before, right? They just want like that sort of Ready Player One type system where everyone is immersed in technology and they've got the VR headsets on and it's the ghettos and graffiti and gangs all over the place and people are showing up to the factory and strapping catheters to their waist. Like that's their end goal. And I think we've been pretty effective in standing up against that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so on this Daniel Penny stuff,
Daniel Penny talking about gangs, talking about
because
how
he was
society falls apart with ethnic conflict, etc.
Because there's been so many times where like women were just like raped on subways, like in front of people, and no one knew what to do. Mm-hmm. No one tried to stop these guys, or like attacked or shot or killed or strangled or whatever. And this guy, being a former Marine or Navy SEAL or something, stands up, decides to get involved, and puts this guy in a chokehold and kills him. And he choked him out for like six minutes. Ended up. The dude never tapped out. By the way, I never saw him tap out, so he didn't know. He ended up killing him.
I saw the whole video.
Right, he ended up killing him. And now he's on trial for like manslaughter, which was the top. They just dropped that top charge, so he's probably gonna end up doing probation. But you've got this guy, the homeless dude's dad, who comes out, and he's like, well, now he's gonna sue him. So if he's not gonna go to prison, now he's gonna get sued, right? And this is how these people work every single time. It's like if we can't get them, it's like with Derek Chauvin, right? They thought that maybe he was gonna get off. And so the feds had a plan, and this was written. There was articles published about this. The feds had a plan to charge him with a federal crime,
right,
if he wasn't convicted locally. And then if that wasn't going to work, then they would sue him, and they would basically end his life that way. And that's what they're trying to do with Daniel Penny.
They're playing a dangerous game, though, because how many times can you do that before the rule of law is diluted into meaninglessness? And then it's not going to matter. It's like, well, if you're going to charge me anyway, then I might as well just kill this guy.
Well, the fact this was a hung jury is just crazy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like really pisses me off. Like,
yeah,
like
totally.
The same thing with the Chauvin thing. It's like, so what do we do now? Like, do we just like wipe our hands of these neighborhoods, of these areas, and just let them kill each other?
Yes.
Like, I mean,
that's what we've done. I mean,
hey, like they want to complain about the police. They want to complain about too much order. They want to complain about stop and frisk. They want to complain about a dude that's standing up and trying to prevent someone from getting killed in the subway, putting someone in a choke. They want to complain about all these things. Like, just like leave those areas. And guess what? We're the taxpayers. White people are the ones who pay most of the taxes in these areas. In fact, Buckhead, Georgia tried to secede from Atlanta, and they literally said, no, you cannot secede from Atlanta because you guys pay about 100% of the taxes for the entire city of Atlanta, and so you can't secede.
Really?
Yes.
What was the name of this town?
Buckhead, Georgia.
what other option do we have? I mean, do you guys seriously care if there's a police force in any major inner city? Because I don't care. I don't care.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of police aren't even showing up to calls because they don't want to become the next flashpoint. In fact,
of course.
Minneapolis police literally said that they weren't responding to calls on purpose. Anonymously, they said this because they didn't want to become the next flashpoint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here it is. The Democratic city wasn't doing enough to fight crime and provide services, especially considering that Buckhead makes up less than 20% of the city's population, but 40% of its tax revenue.
40% of the tax revenue. I think it's higher than that. I've seen stories where it's higher than that. It's like closer to like 100% of the tax revenue.
Well, we're not going to be allowed to secede. We need to think about that.
It's not about secede. It's just about like so in Chicago. So Dave and I took a trip to Chicago, and we were in the city, and we took it like every night. We made it a point to go to a different area. So like Chicago is made up of different neighborhoods. Like you've got like Little Village, which is like dominated by the Latin Kings, and you've got O Block, which is like Vice Lord territory, and you've got like these little different neighborhoods that are dominated by certain gangs. And it seems to be the case that these people have just wiped each other out. Like they've just and we were in a place that we were staying in Bridgeport. And my family grew up in Bridgeport. My mom grew up in Bridgeport. My uncle grew up in Bridgeport. This was like a little Italy. This was like an Italian town. And every morning we would wake up, we would see a different graffiti over another graffiti every single morning.
Every morning.
I think we have a thread on this up on the Backlash. By the way, Make sure to hit up PowerChat, powerchat.live/thebacklash. We're going to go over the super chats at the end of the stream. We're muting them.
We might have a little bit of an issue with the Power Chats. I don't understand why it says Stripe, our payment processor, isn't working, but it doesn't say that it's not there. So I don't know. Maybe it's possible that somebody got us banned already from Stripe or Square.
Yeah, we'll
but
go
you
through the
can
events
still do Bitcoin, Dogecoin, Ethereum, Litecoin.
The
We can take
Backlash.net.
crypto. We can still take Google payments.
The
And
Backlash.
It was working
you can go
earlier.
to the backlash.net/donate.
Yeah, it was working earlier too, so we'll see about that.
There will be some Power Chats today.
Follow us. We're almost up to 1,000 followers on Twitter, the Backlash, at Real Backlash. But here, so pull up the thread. So check this. This is freaking so weird to me. And Cameron, can you see this? You can
No,
see
he
this.
can't.
He can't see this?
No,
Okay.
sorry.
So if you go to the Backlash, Real Backlash on Twitter. So we went to Chicago and we noticed that most of the gang symbols there are like Jewish. It's so weird. If you click on the first image there. So there's this gang called the Gangster Disciples, GD. And one of their symbols, their main symbol, is the 6-point star.
But isn't this the Black Disciples?
BGD,
No,
yeah,
this is
BD, Black
BD,
Disciples,
Black
but they
Disciples.
both have the same symbol, the same 6-point, the same Star of David
Right.
symbol. Go to the next one. So you can see up at the top left-hand corner, you've got the Star of David up there.
Weird.
Go to the second. This is the building that just kept getting freaking
Yeah, this one. No, but
tagged up. That white building.
This
yeah.
building was, yeah.
Yeah, go to the second. Second. So these are prison tattoos, and you can see
This is Spanish Gangster Disciples.
lots of. Yeah, they're all part of like what they call folk nation. So in Chicago, you've got
Well, there's two
Folks.
warring factions. There's the Folks Nation and the People Nation.
right.
And those two factions were made up of even smaller factions. But
Right.
maybe
Correct.
we can do that maybe a little bit more chronologically.
Well, yeah, the folk nation is just basically like you've got. Well, actually, there's a part in the thread that actually shows this. But go to that graph paper thing. Right?
one?
I don't know who drew this, but this is interesting. So you've got the 6-point star, the Star of David, and then you've got that's
666.
yeah,
Then you've got the swastika in the middle,
weird.
the all-seeing eye.
Aurelian, yeah.
You've got the Order of the Eastern Star symbol over here,
Mm-hmm.
yin yang, Crips, and then we've got some Hebrew right there, which is interesting. And then up here, that's is
I
that?
don't even know.
I believe that is Saturn.
Yeah, but there's a Jupiter.
There's that Jupiter.
Yeah, go to the next. So yeah, Gangster
This
Disciples.
is the Gangster Disciples.
Just more of the. Yeah, that last picture was kind of like mixed up with a bunch of different gangs that are kind of like not on each other's sides. But yeah, go to the next one.
This one.
The next, yeah. So this is it's crazy because this was right around the corner from where we were staying, right? Bridgeport, totally now like an Asian. It's an Asian neighborhood.
Predominantly.
Yeah, and so you've got these people that are moving in that are trying to like control the next block. And it's so weird because you got like one block and then you go like 2 blocks over and then it's a total Mexican neighborhood. It's like Latin Kings. And then you go 2 blocks over and then it's like BGD. It's like Gangster Disciples. And then you go 2 blocks over and it's, you know, the Vice Lords. And it's so crazy because that building was right around the corner from where we were staying. And every morning we would wake up and it would be painted over, or there would be another thing that was like drawn over it that was against the gang. So that's down with so on the left you see the crown going down.
Well, so hold on a second. So
ahead.
it's the tag itself is blue. Mm-hmm. Blue is
Gangster
the
Disciples, yeah.
Folks Nation.
Folks, right.
Blue is also associated with Gangster Disciples. So you can see that they've got the crown upside down.
Right.
The crown is the symbol for the Latin kings. So they're disrespecting the Latin kings, and they've got their trident right side up. And I guess, what are these guys called? Lord Boys?
Yeah, it's just another, like, they have
Another
21st
sub-gang.
Street, yeah, Gangster Disciples or whatever.
So then the next day,
Crown up.
This is what we have. It was vandalized with the crown up in red.
DK
And,
or
that's-
something. Something Kings.
Mm-hmm. Maybe Dominican Kings or something.
It says DK, yeah.
DK. But there's also black there.
Yeah, because then there was a second one.
That's a third group, which was the Satan's disciples.
Yes.
All these names are so gay.
It's crazy. Well, there's one that's literally called the Gaylords, but
So police have just tapped out and they're allowing all these factions to just have this
I think
warfare.
so, especially in like O Block.
Mm-hmm. That's a weird gang sign. That's Saturn.
That's Saturn. That's a Saturn
Or
symbol.
Jupiter, one or the other.
Jupiter. No, yeah, Jupiter. Yep, it's the same. Wait, go back up.
Well, here, hold on. I wanted to see if there was any, because I wanted to skip back. So, I mean, we could go to this, right? So,
Yeah,
David Barksdale, the founder of the
Co-founder.
Black Disciples,
right.
called him King David. And that's
Crazy.
kind of weird.
So what's the Jewish connection? Are Jews just giving these groups money?
Well, funny you should say that.
Literally.
In 1970, the Vice Lords were given $275,000 by the Rockefeller Foundation, and the Ford Foundation gave them $130,000, which we did the math on, and that works out to roughly the equivalent of about
$2 million.
$4.5
Or
million.
$4 million. Yeah.
What's the angle, though? They just want to sow discord?
The angle would be that they were helping to stoke ethnic division, tension, disruption in the city.
Or maybe they
that
were
could be
trying to
an angle.
literally fund them killing each other off. I don't know.
It could be that they were, trying to get them to kill each other
So
off.
there's
We
the
don't know.
5-point star, Vice Lord Nation. I think the Vice Lords are the ones that the Satan disciples and the Vice Lords are the ones that use the 5-point star.
Yeah, and you can see that. This is the people nation, right? You got the Latin kings, Vice Lords.
Or 2-6, yeah.
I don't know.
The pyramid with the all-seeing eye. The moon with the star, literally like an Arab.
There's other versions of it, too, that it's more like the Shriners logo, which is interesting.
You know who talked about this? Ted Kaczynski.
He talked about black gangs.
No, but he talked about people's desire for autonomy and how they'll, since we don't have an agrarian society and we don't get food and things like that anymore on our own, that people seek power within small groups, and if they can't do that, then they'll do it on behalf of other people, and then that's how they fulfill their desire for power.
Well, that's what, and not to sound like not to go like completely fash the nation here or whatever.
Oh, boy.
But I mean, that's literally so who created the NAACP? Henry Moskowitz, right? He was one of the main people behind the creation of the NAACP, right? He was a Zionist. He was Jewish. You look at we talked about this, I think, a couple of weeks ago, right? The writer, one of the main writers for Martin Luther King was Jewish, Stanley Levison. He marched with the ADL. He marched with B'nai B'rith. So obviously, thinking that, that they're playing some part in controlling these like street gangs isn't too far-fetched, especially when you get down further in the thread. There's it's kind of funny actually. Even the Jewish-owned liquor store, because the area got so dangerous, closed up shop. It was literally called Rothschild Liquors. Rothschild's cut rate
Like,
liquors.
see ya.
We drove down this street. This is in Washington Park.
This is right about 1 block away from O Block,
O Block.
which is the most dangerous project in Chicago.
Supposedly.
Allegedly.
Glad you guys are in one
There's
piece.
probably some more dangerous projects.
I personally felt fine hanging out in O Block. Like, O Block didn't bother me at all. I used to go to some seedier parts of town when I was in college. And so,
Dave drove down this alley. It was me and this other guy. Me and a friend were in the car with him, and we just got done eating Italian beef. By the way, can't beat the food in Chicago.
you can't. It's good.
It's so good. Got done eating Italian beef, and he's like, let's drive down this alley. I'm like, no, Dave, don't drive down that alley. There's a car like parked in the alley with his lights on. It's like, I think one of the headlights were out or something. And we're like, Dave, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. He drives down the alley. Like, dude, he's like speeding through these neighborhoods. I'm like, dude, if you speed through these neighborhoods, these people will fucking shoot at you. They'll think like you're the cops. I think one thing that we had going for us was that they probably thought we were cops, and
Right.
maybe didn't shoot at. I don't know. It was pretty.
Well, I mean, you know how to drive. I mean, you don't look around. You don't like look at people when they're like pulling up next to you. You don't linger. You don't, there's a certain etiquette when you're in the hood
Right.
that you follow.
You guys have children.
But frankly,
It was kind of exhilarating, to be honest.
it was great. I'm kind of an
We went to like different neighborhoods. We went to Little Village, which is like Latin Kings.
Here, I can pull some of this up. Let me pull some of this up on.
Wait, weren't there like synagogues that were like?
Hold on. One
right,
thing
go
at a
ahead.
time. One thing at a time. So like, let's go to O Block, right? O Block.
I don't know if you'll be able to find it by typing it in, but
Yeah, watch this. No, okay. What was it called?
Washington Park,
Washington Park.
Chicago, right?
It's down here somewhere. Parkway Gardens. There it is.
Yeah, there it is. Parkway Gardens apartment. Yep, that's it. You couldn't get behind it.
Come on.
It's crazy. They've got like a train yard with a freeway behind it.
Oh, I see that on the left.
Yeah. So we tried to get behind it. We tried to go behind it. I don't know why we did this.
we drove down this road and tried to get behind it, but yeah, you can't.
You can't.
There's no way. Let me see. You can kind
Yeah,
of.
there it is.
You can kind of see. So these are the projects. This
Everyone's
is
dressed in
specifically
red.
O Block. Red and black.
Red and black.
Rothschild Liquor is over here. That's Rothschild Liquor. Let's see. Just so everybody kind of knows. Here, let's dive in.
There it is.
There's Rothschild Cut Rate Liquor.
Cut rate.
Oh boy.
That's so funny.
Honestly,
Let's
this
cut
doesn't
rate.
look any worse than Spokane.
No, well, and that's just what
That's
I was
what he
saying.
said, yeah.
Is like when I went here, right? So like this is directly now in front of the projects. Look at this. There's really no, I mean, a beer can, one beer can, okay, but I mean, there really isn't any trash.
Yeah, it's pretty clean.
It's very clean.
There's very few homeless because they used to be on Lower Wacker Drive. They cleaned them all out. So like downtown Chicago is like
Look
one
at
of
this.
the cleanest cities.
This looks so much, and this is the hood. This is the worst of the worst.
It looks fine.
And it looks absolutely fine. And that's what I was telling Vince. I'm like, Vince, you're nuts. This
well,
is
the
not,
West Side was worse.
This is not the bad neighborhood.
Yeah,
But
the West Side was worse.
It is a little bit. Now, what's interesting too is like you can see over here, certain like these neighborhoods right here. Oh, is it going to let me in? Thank you, Elon. By the way, this program brought to you by Starlink. You can see some of these blocks. I mean, these weren't open fields. These were houses
Right, they're gone.
at one point, and it's just
They
all
wiped them
gone.
out.
They wiped them out, and so I mean, it kind of looks like a post-war zone, but it doesn't look like an active war zone. At least not right now. Now, maybe in 2008, it would have looked
Right.
more like an active war zone.
So what have they
They
done
just
differently?
killed. I think they just killed each other.
Well,
I think a lot of
it
them.
was I think a combination. I mean, like so.
Are
I
you
went-
saying the Jews fixed Chicago? Is that what's happening?
They ruined it and then too far and then fixed it and then.
Well,
But it's
so-
interesting because you go from a black neighborhood to a Mexican neighborhood. It's like the black neighborhoods, no businesses, they're all boarded up. And then you go to a Mexican neighborhood and
All
it's
the
like
businesses are
bustling.
there.
Right, all the businesses are there. And then you go to a white neighborhood and it's like, whoa.
So now here
It's like traveling through 3 different worlds in the span of like 5 miles.
we're gonna go. So now this is Little Village. We went here another night, right? And so Little Village is actually
King territory.
it's Latin King territory. And when we got there, I was like, this place is actually sketchy. And it's not because it's more dirty or anything like that. It was because we got buzzed by somebody in a truck immediately
Lot of
upon
people.
arrival. But you can see, compared to the black neighborhoods, there's businesses here. There's a Burger King.
Fast food restaurants. Like,
You know, like you can actually get food. It's
Well, this is obviously a cultural thing.
AutoZone, McDonald's, and this is again the hood. Like you'd get shot here, for sure.
now remember, all of these neighborhoods were like where my
Right.
family were. They were like Italian neighborhoods. They were Irish neighborhoods. There was something there that is gone. Right. The only thing that remains are the Mexican neighborhoods. They keep their neighborhoods. The black neighborhoods. They keep their neighborhoods. The Chinese. The Chinatown's never going away. But Little Italy's gone. right? The Italian neighborhoods that my family grew up in are gone. We've all been sort of shuffled out into the suburbs and told you've got no culture and you can't dance. And, you know, like that's basically what has happened. Cameron loves the suburbs and he loves golfing, from what I've heard.
I believe it.
Is this true?
Yeah, I hate both with a passion.
Anyway,
Now,
very
there's
interesting.
now-
Everything you're describing is not unique to the United States. These communities have just converted what they moved into to what exists in their home country. Everything you described, I see that in Mexico. Okay. I've seen it in South Asia. It's no different. And that puts a lie to assimilation, right? The magic soil theory. Oh, as soon as they come here, they swear allegiance, all of a sudden, boom, they're Anglo-Saxon Protestants like the rest of us. Load of bullshit, right? But it also illustrates the nature of the problem, okay? Because once a critical mass comes over and they acquire political power, and that political power is weaponized in some kind of ethnocentric form, you get exactly what we've got. You've got a government that no longer represents the body politic. And that brings us to the end of the game, which is basically when the democratic system is no longer responsive to the body politic. We have arrived, okay? And now that has been called historically the state of exception. And the state of exception means that ultimately it becomes a power game at that stage. Now, one other thing I should note on this is that there was a report that was published about 10 years ago, I think in 2012, by Meredith Whitney, who's a fairly well-known financial analyst on Wall Street. She was one of the few that predicted the global financial crisis, et cetera. But she published a report called The Tragedy of the Commons. And in that report, she did basically a diagnostic assessment of the municipal balance sheets of states across the United States. And guess what she found? That in New York, that in Illinois, that in California, all of these states have collapsed financially. All right. Illinois being one of the most egregious offenders. Now, I say that to say this. Where are we headed with all of this? Why were you allowed to drive through? Why was there even the specter of order? Well, because we haven't had a financial catastrophe yet. That's knocking on the door. Now, if the states are bankrupt, okay, how is it that these welfare benefits, the food stamps, the Medicaid is still being distributed? That's really pacifying these populations because there's no economy, right? They're not generating the income to subsidize their livelihoods. That's all coming from somewhere. Where's it coming from? The feds. It's coming from the federal government. And I illustrate that point because when Obama became president, and I've said this many times, that was the turning point in this country's history, really. It was in 2000, 2008. When Obama became president, he basically contract with America. And in the contract with America that the Republicans placed in the late 90s, it basically devolved a lot of the purse strings and the management of the welfare state to the states. And that allowed them basically to control costs and to deny people benefits. When Obama came in, he eliminated all of it. Everybody gets everything. And he federalized the police departments as well. So what do you have? You have complete anarchy that's on the precipice of a total breakdown. And nobody, not Donald Trump, not his government, not the city hall in Chicago, they're not prepared for such a situation. But it's imminent, in my opinion.
Go off about this might tie into exactly what I think you wanted to talk about when it comes to France.
Well, so along these same lines of what you guys experienced when you're in Chicago, it's absolutely no different in Paris. It's no different in parts of Berlin. It's no different in parts of the United Kingdom. They have all the same factions. In the UK, for example, there's open tribal conflict between the Indians and the Pakistanis. All right, they just have geographically transported it from Southeast Asia or the Indian subcontinent to the United Kingdom, okay? But like us, they're running out of money. Now, what's happening in France as it stands today is basically the French government, which is completely to the left. You'll hear people say there's left and there is no right. everybody's a socialist. They have rejected any effort whatsoever by the government to put forth a reasonable budget with austerity cuts, tax hikes, whatever, okay, which oddly mirrors the budget that Trump is going to submit here shortly in January once the new year hits. The bottom line is that the bond market, the financing mechanisms are drying up. So we're going to face a very dangerous situation in which these areas, which are already ungovernable, which can't be policed, which are dangerous, they're going to descend into a kinds of Hobbesian anarchy that I just don't think that the political authority is even remotely prepared for.
You don't think that they're anticipating this, that it's not their desired outcome?
No, I don't. A lot of people think that. And here's why I say that. These people want to keep the system going. They want to keep it going as long as they can because they're enriching themselves from it, right? And bear in mind that if the system goes down, the asset holders, they're going to get wiped out, all right? That's what happened during the Depression. Now, some segments anticipated that and enriched themselves more so, but that was a very small fraction. But it's worse this time because these people have destroyed the institutions of power. So who's going to protect them?
Right.
If we descend into Hobbesian anarchy, where are the police forces that are going to roll out and protect these people? It's not going to happen. But I can assure you, no, they don't see it coming, especially not Wall Street. They think we're in boom times and everything's great.
What's that line that they say is always correct when you look at the collapses of the economy? I forget what it's called. I was just watching a video about this, but it's always correct, and that like everything setting up for this to I sound retarded right now.
Yeah,
but
I'm
everything's
trying to I want to pull it up. What?
I forget what it's called. Everything's setting up for like them to just like it's essentially like they're holding on until like after this election, then they're just gonna like let it go.
That's possible
because they can't do anything about it. Like there's nothing. They want to keep the system going, but they can't. Like there is nothing that they can do. It doesn't matter if they raise interest rates. Doesn't matter if they lower interest rates. It doesn't matter what they do. Like this is coming. Like what Cameron has been talking about is coming.
Look, I don't think so, Vince. I don't think they view it that way at all. Okay. And again, if you look at the messaging Trump has done, there was an interview with Larry Johnson on Napolitano's show, I want to say a week or so ago, and he was asked about the skirmishing that's gone on in Ukraine. All right. So obviously, I'm sure you guys know that President Biden authorized these ATACMs. They were then flooded into Ukraine. Ukraine started shooting them off at the Russians. That was a red line. Putin was very clear about that. And then all of a sudden, they launched a set of missiles that we hadn't seen before. And so the question was put to Larry Johnson, well, what effect has this had on the U.S. intelligence agencies? Have they changed their calculus whatsoever about the threat posed by the Russians? Okay. And Larry Johnson's answer was, hasn't changed it at all. The working hypothesis in D.C. is unchanged. Putin is on the verge of collapse. The Russian economy is melting down, and we are going to win. Take that same cognitive dissonance and apply it to the economy. People on Wall Street think that Trump is the magic sauce that's going to rejigger the economy. We're going to get right back to growth and everything's going to be boom times again. We think that the economy is falling apart. We see cracks in the financial system. They do not. And that speaks to the recurring theme that I keep emphasizing, that these people have self-sabotaged. They're just as deluded as that woman who went on a rant on social media at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, I mean, they're delusional about their mortality, too. Do you remember when Nancy Pelosi's house got broken into by that insane guy? Mm-hmm. They had virtually no security. Like, Fauci's just walking around with no security. This guy from United Healthcare just gets assassinated. He's just walking down the street. All of these people are just like, they're just walking around like people don't want to kill them.
Well, it's also kind of interesting. I mean, I've thought about this too, right? There is like an element within our society that we've become, especially like white people that don't live in the inner city, that don't have to deal with gang warfare. Like the idea of like violence being used is alien.
It is.
To most people. Like, I mean, it was to me until I got death threats the first time. You know what I mean? And I'm like, wait a minute, is this real? Is that actually possible? But like, the world's a very violent place, and we have been living in luxury for a very long, long time.
Yes.
And I think we've kind of forgotten that, and I think we're heading into a period of time where people are crazy. They've been locked up and experimented on, and psyoped and socially experiment. All of this.
That was like the biggest psychological experiment ever in the history of America.
What?
COVID.
2020.
Oh,
no, not
yeah,
just
yeah,
COVID,
yeah.
but like everything. Like you had you had COVID, then you had you had all those that scare shit. Remember all those videos coming out of China?
Yeah.
Like that shit, like kind of like
I
radicalized me.
remember when we were hanging out in DC and you wouldn't shake hands.
Yeah.
You would
I was
only like fist bump
And then
with
by like April, I was like, okay, this shit's bullshit. But then the lockdowns.
Yeah.
Right? Then the lockdowns, and then Black Lives Matter, and then the election, and then J6. Like that was all that
one
year.
after another. Boom, boom,
That
boom,
was
boom.
that
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of, it's just like insane to think about like how, what psychological effect does that have on people, especially on kids? Like we know, the speech stuff and all this.
I know the
Not going to
psychological
school.
effect that it had on me.
Yeah.
I became a gun owner
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I
for
mean,
the first time. I didn't have, I was never really into guns.
it's,
And now you are.
Then I went from owning 0 guns to 14 in a week.
You hit everything really hard, don't you?
Yeah, but Dave, that but see that anecdote right there, that tells you the direction that we're headed in. Did you roll over? Did you become some kind of blue-haired, purple-headed freak leftist and think, oh no, COVID's everywhere? No, you didn't. What did you do? You got firearms. You
I got
protected
firearms.
yourself.
I
That's
bought
exactly what
food,
the
supplies. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's what we
Yeah.
did too. Yep.
Yeah. You woke up, right? And that's exactly what is happening in Europe as well. What we're going through is exactly the same. There's a psychological permutation. I'll tell you exactly the consequences of what happened. The legacy trust in these governments has collapsed everywhere. Nobody has faith whatsoever. Nobody believes the mainstream press at all. Now that's very good on the one hand, because it's suggestive that transformative change is imminent. But on the other hand, it's very dangerous because people don't know what to believe right now. And that means that any number of things could happen. But whatever the experiment was, it failed. It boomeranged. People don't buy more into this crap. Trust has collapsed.
yeah, it's a good thing. And especially what people were on social media a lot during that time too. And so that's what we just going back to what we talked about, where, we're sort of using technology to combat the mainstream narrative. And, hard times are coming. I think Cam talks about this on his channel as well all the time. Like hard times are coming, and hard times are going to create hard men. And like you see, by the way, neo-masculinity on YouTube, you can find Cameron's stuff. It's at neo-masculinity on YouTube. He's got a great channel. He goes through a lot of this stuff, really into the financial, really into the manosphere stuff. He's got very underrated creator. So you guys should go. I don't. That's not the right one. That's not the right channel. I always forget. Just Cameron McGregor. I don't know. Your channel's hard to find here. We're having a hard time. There it is. Yeah, that one. The top one. Yeah, that one. So that's very underrated content creator. Make sure to go sub to him. Make sure to go give him some subs and some views. But yeah, he talks about this a lot too. Like, sort of fat and happy right now.
One thing to note, Vince, because I think this is an interesting point, and this gets us back to the beginning about Kaczynski. So there's a big YouTuber. I forget his name. I think it's what if something like that. I sent you guys a link to it, but he covers a lot of interesting material on there. Some of it's pretty racy. He talks about the Nazis. He talks about race, a lot of the coming civil war, whatever. But one of the videos he did on his channel was about the coming incel revolution. Now, this is a subject that I've talked about on my channel as well. That video on his channel was banned or demonetized, something of that nature. I forget. He talks about it at the beginning of the video if you go and watch it. My channel is almost certainly shadow banned. But the point that he made is that he's got a lot of this racy stuff. Why is it that the topic of incel in particular, and for those of you who don't know, I'm referring to involuntary celibate men. Okay, so these are men that are basically sexually starved. They've been marginalized by society in any number of ways, especially
By people
spurned
like
by
this.
the opposite sex.
Yep, by
But
her.
in any case, why is it that that topic in particular is being banned or demonetized? And it's not just me. This applies to Fresh and Fit and Andrew Tate and a lot of these guys that are talking about that particular issue. Well, the reason is, and the motif of my channel is because that's where the political change is going to come from. Ultimately, it is the young men that have figured out exactly what the hell is going on. These are the guys that consume Vince's channel. Some of them consume my channel. They're all Andrew Tate followers, et cetera, et cetera. But these are the guys that are the extra political force that nobody's really paying any attention to, that are finally beginning to emerge. And they are on the right, to say the least. So that's where the change is going to come from. And that's what's really got the establishment, the legacy power structure, whatever, very scared.
Yep. Your body, my choice. It's coming. Yeah, we met someone like that. Actually, there's a lot of young people. Like, I clocked this kid right away as a groiper, remember, in Chicago.
yeah.
I was like, you look like a groiper. He's like, I am a groiper. Like, totally like autistic, sort
tell.
of like incel. It's like, that's where they're gonna come for you guys. They're coming.
Well, there's those guys, but look, I think it's much broader than that. I think
Right.
it's a lot of average guys. You know, I interact with young men all the time. You guys are married, you have kids. I spend a lot of time talking to young men, okay? And there are a lot of guys that are very talented, intelligent, capable, tall, good looking, whatever. They don't have money. They can't get jobs. They're not climbing the social ladder. And by virtue of that, guess what? They don't have girlfriends. They don't have social networks. They don't have friends. They don't have community. And most of these guys that I'm talking about obviously are white, okay? Now, I emphasize that because these guys have figured things out. I mean, I was in Argentina and I ran into two guys who are 20 years old, and everything that we've talked about on this podcast, they were aware of. These guys are 22 years old. They knew exactly who ran the government. They knew the economy was a sham. They knew feminism was bullshit. All of this stuff. That is your future, right? That is the future of the political opposition in this country and across the West. That's what's going to change it all.
That makes me excited.
It is exciting. Gen Alpha is even, man, if you listen to some of the, like my son and his friends, dude, it's like, fuck. It's pretty white pilling. It's pretty white pilling stuff. Gen Alpha is even more right wing than Gen Z.
True.
At a younger age,
Absolutely.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Imagine where they'll be when they're our age.
The wind
Right.
the wind is definitely blowing in our direction. And there's a lot of people out there that
And
have not figured it out yet. They need to do the, you know, they really do.
where the men go, the women will follow. But the men have to go there first.
That's true. And
And,
women are
that's-
naturally radical, and we also enforce social norms. So through shame. So as soon as you guys pave the way, we'll be there shaming
well, as soon
other
as
women.
shit gets dangerous enough, women will be voting more right wing than ever.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe. I mean, it's possible.
On that note, on that white pill, let's do some power chats. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
I've just been informed that the power chats were being read.
Allegedly.
I don't know. A lot of people
Allegedly.
told me over our conversations.
In the beginning,
Maybe in the beginning. I have it
didn't hear
muted.
nothing.
I have it muted. It's not coming through.
maybe just take it off as a browser source and just go through it later. Like
did-
we'll just read through it. Yeah.
That's what
on
you
air.
did, okay.
Let's have an on-air meeting about it right
we're
now.
we're
Yeah, right
having the
now.
on-air meeting.
But
about
this-
it.
You're too uptight. Like this show is perfect. We don't have to have any structure. I mean, maybe a little bit of structure, but we don't have to. You know, we don't have to. Nothing has to be scripted. We're good. We're good to go. We can
No,
have.
I like to
But
be
we're-
prepared.
We're gonna.
Yeah.
Do, here's the other thing, though. I think we're gonna do some really interesting stuff over the next couple of years as we get the funds
Yes.
to be able to do it.
Yes.
We're gonna go back to Chicago.
We're
and
gonna
make a
film it.
documentary.
We're gonna drive
about the gangs.
We're
in
gonna interview
Chicago.
my dad.
His father is a gangster disciple. Did you know that?
Well, he was
Chat-
when he was a kid.
Chat, did you know
Yeah.
that when he was 14 years old, his dad was going down the street with a 16 gauge shotgun, and threatening rival gang members. Allegedly.
You can't prove this in court.
I can't prove any of this.
Okay.
Statute of limitations.
Listen.
But then
How did
after he
Vince become
becomes
such a simp.
Listen. Here's the thing. Okay, but Chicago's a very weird. It's a very different place. Like if you look into the gang history of Chicago, there were white gangs and
like
you
the
know,
Gaylords.
Like the Gaylords.
Can I pull that up?
You can
real
pull
quick?
up the
Hold
Gaylord.
on, I'm gonna pull up the
He wasn't part of the Gaylords. He wasn't gay. But there was like white gang. It's very weird. I know there was white gangs everywhere. Like you had the greasers and the biker gangs and whatever. But I'm talking about like street gangs that were
the Chicago.
You know what's
Gaylords.
interesting? Popes. What does Popes stand for? There's a gang called the Popes. Pull that up
Hold on a second.
before
Let's
we get into
see.
Super Chat. Popes gang.
What
What does it stand? What's the I didn't even know this was an acronym.
I don't even want to say this out loud.
Well, I'll say it. Protecting our people, eliminating spics. This was not a white gang, was it? The Almighty Insane
The
Popes?
Almighty
That was
Insane
a black
Popes Nation?
gang. That was a black gang. So anyway, my dad was like in his earlier days was like whatever gang affiliated, but the thing is that the Italians and the Irish, they were all fighting against the Mexicans and the blacks, and then eventually the Mexicans and the blacks won. They took over the neighborhoods. White people were shuffled off to, the suburbs or whatever. But he became a cop, right? And he became a sheriff, and he's got a lot of great stories of being shot and being thrown off a 2-story building, and going into the projects, going into Cabrini Green before it was taken down, and going into places like the O Block and other projects. So we'll take him, all right. He knows all about the gangs. He used to like confiscate shit because we were like poor, and he used to confiscate shit from the gangs and like bring and like give them to me. Like it was very popular to have like a starter zip up pullover jacket in the 90s, and we couldn't afford one, so my dad just confiscated one. It was a blue and black one. And gave it to me.
And I bet it was your favorite.
And it was my favorite thing ever. He used to bring home like nunchucks. He used to bring home like throwing stars and all sorts of weird shit, dude.
That's crazy.
It's pretty crazy. Anyway, so we'll have to take him. We'll have to film that and
We'll go
take
around.
him in the car.
Yeah.
Right. We'll do a nice like badass video in the car, like taking him around, like going through the different neighborhoods. So we'll do we've got a lot of stuff. We got a lot of stuff planned. We just
One of these days too, I would like to bring my dad on the show to talk about payola. My dad was a big program director back in the 1970s and the 80s in the record and radio industry, and he was very not involved. He never took a dime. He was not involved in payola like that, but everyone else in the industry was, and it's really interesting to hear his stories about it because of how music shapes our culture and stuff like that. So anyway, it'll be fun, wholesome family content.
Super chats. Let's go.
All right.
Power chats.
Power chats.
Let's see.
I can't get
I think
super
you guys
chats.
need to stop mansplaining. You guys need to stop mansplaining to Rebecca.
We
I
need
know.
more
Jesus.
mansplaining. More.
They're probably right, yeah.
Okay, so
Although he was totally wrong about the power chats not being read.
I'm trying to white knight or whatever the hell they call it.
Yeah. You simp, get out of here.
great. Okay, let's see. Does this work?
Reinhard sent $20 finally. I have some very strong opinions on Ted and how he is perceived by our people. I can't wait to hear this.
Thank you, Reinhardt.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Reinhardt.
it. Big shout out.
Big shout out to Reinhardt.
Hey, Black Pigeon Speaks is in the chat. Hey, buddy.
Oh, we got to give a big shout out to someone who donated through our website. We have to
you're
say the
right.
name, just give an initials or whatever.
Logan sent $10
here we go.
if their favorite hobby wasn't killing each other. How long ago would the planet have been taken over by black?
A long time ago.
Oh my gosh. Hold on a second. Let me pull up this woman. I believe it was a woman who donated to us. We are very thankful.
Hey, Felix.
It was
Thanks
on
for joining us.
Telegram. You put it on our Telegram group.
You're right, I did, but I also have it here. And it's going to be from Brittany.
Yo.
Do you think
from
it's really
Vancouver.
a chick?
Brittany from Vancouver. Thank you.
Salutes to you.
Big donation, $1,130.
That is
Big
so crazy.
dono.
Thank you.
Thank you
That
so
helps
much.
us get started a lot. That's
Yeah.
very good.
Yes, that will subsidize the cost of our
At least that machine that we
Roadcaster,
bought.
yeah.
Yeah.
Roadcaster that we needed.
I really need a mani-pedi, so thanks for that one.
Oh, great.
You need to go golfing, don't you, Cam? You love golf.
Do you really
so
hate
much.
golf?
He hates golf.
I despise, like, I look like a white guy from the suburbs, and I absolutely despise that milieu. I hate it.
Huh. Okay.
I play basketball. I wear Jordans. I rob liquor stores. That's how I
Fuck
roll.
yeah. And deodorant, you steal that too. All right, go ahead.
Okay, hold on a
No,
second.
I don't go that far.
You don't
I'm
wash
not
your
in that
feet.
deep.
All right, what do we got?
Okay, here we go.
That's more of a South Asian thing.
Oh, is it? Okay, sorry.
Okay.
My uncle
Yes,
always says
yes,
they
it
don't
is.
wash their feet. Anyway,
Is this working?
your site is already blocked on my work
I know what's
internet.
happening here. Hold on a second. There we go.
Oh, okay.
It says your site is already blocked on my work internet. Good job, guys. Everyone should check out my story free online. The mayor of Christ Mountain, based on the murder of Cannon Hinnant. It's a story of murder, revenge, and white lives mattering.
Aw,
I
thank you.
remember Cannon Hinnant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's another one.
How was the date?
Anonymous sent $10. How was the date?
The date was
What are they
good.
talking about?
The date.
How
The-
you
the-
guys went
you
to
have to pull
Chicago
up your tweet.
together
You have to pull up your tweet to
All
give
right.
context.
just so you
Here
could
we
stay in a
go.
hotel room together.
Here we go. Okay.
Vince was the small spoon.
Let's go. Where were we?
You guys did look really
Jeez,
cute.
I tweet a lot. I apologize. Oh my God.
Holy
I
shit.
tweet way too much.
Are you eating deep dish pizza?
No, we went to
We went to the
Capone's-
Green Mill.
The Green Mill. Behind the bar, you've got the access to the tunnels, the Prohibition tunnels.
Aw, look at you.
Capone Prohibition.
Only over socialized people tweet too much. Dave.
True.
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 Ain't that the truth?
And yeah, there is
Definitely
there's
over socialized.
tunnels. I don't know. It's not.
No, where's the
linked.
picture of the? Oh, is that? Oh, that's the thing you tweeted. Oh, there was something. The bean. Oh, okay. All right.
Hold
we're
on,
good.
hold on.
We're good.
Oh well. It's
Whatever.
not- it doesn't matter.
It's all good. It was a fun trip.
Cute.
Okay.
When are you guys gonna announce the date?
It already happened.
Well, it already happened.
I date raped
Okay.
him.
Because I think Idaho's gonna allow same-sex marriage, right?
We already do, unfortunately.
Oh, really?
It was illegal until
You
2
already did,
years
right?
ago. Yeah, sodomy was referred to as a notorious crime against nature. We had a law against crimes against nature, like necrophilia, sodomy as well. And unfortunately,
All the fun ones.
That
All
got-
the fun ones.
that-
Why the hell would you want to move to Idaho?
that law got repealed 2 years ago, which sucks. And now we're in this impossible position of needing to reinstitute anti-gay laws in 2024. Like that's going to be pretty
That's
difficult.
coming next.
But it's coming. Believe
It's coming
me.
next.
Believe me.
Can
okay.
can we not talk about
There's
sodomy
there's
just like one
No.
episode?
Nope.
You should
There's
have
some
seen what
weird
was happening
state
in our
laws on
Airbnb.
there.
Yeah, really weird. Yeah.
I think there's a state law in Colorado that's you can't have sex in black socks on Sunday.
Hell yeah.
There's some weird
Dude,
stuff.
yeah.
I hate black socks on women. It's so disgusting.
But they're okay
No,
on
They're
men.
supposed to be
No.
barefoot
Okay, man.
That's
in
like
the
one
kitchen.
of my icks.
No
One
socks.
of my icks is black socks on women.
No socks. They're supposed to be
That's
barefoot in the kitchen.
insane.
What are you doing?
It's an ick.
No. Okay. Moving on.
Wait, you missed one. Go.
No, I
Base
didn't.
dollar sent $100.
Yo!
What kind of idiot would say negative things of Trump supporters in Idaho of all places?
I know.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Well, South Idaho is probably like more acceptable, but
even there.
North, I know, even there, right? Big shout out to Based Dollar with the huge dono.
Thank you.
We appreciate it, BD. Love that guy, by the way. Known him for a long time.
Well, here's one. Is it going to play? No, it's not. It says therightpath.org, therightparty.org, and therightbank.org are all available. Well, it's not going to be after the show. I'm going to go buy them.
We're gonna go.
We're going to
start
go
a
buy
bank.
them with that $5 you sent in. Okay, let's see here from Milehawk420 Blazin.
Mike Hawk 420
Oh.
Hey, Mike.
sent $10.
Great.
Don Lemon is an African American homosexual.
Yes, he is.
That's true.
Very true.
It's very true.
10
Is he?
meter
I
flip
didn't
sent
know that.
$10.
That's
Mouse
shocking.
Utopia explains my entire life in a big city. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
Mouse Utopia.
Yeah.
That was the name of the experiment where the mice all killed themselves.
Didn't someone ask about Lauren Southern? I
That
thought-
was a more recent one. He has to refresh for that.
Oh,
but it's
sorry.
Okay.
I don't know. Somebody said, I got a message saying I need to use a browser to use Power Chat now.
Yeah, you do.
Is this going to play or not?
I think anything over 5 will play, right?
My Puck 420 Blazin sent $10 Iris M with a tism.
Rhythm up with the tism. That's right.
My Puck
Rhythm with the
420 Blazin
tism.
sent $10 Iris M with a tism.
Great. Wonderful. $5 Anonymous says using Chrome to send Power Chat works.
Okay.
Let's see.
Raz Sebastian sent $10. The white population is slowly realizing that identity matters. The salon owner is just an early.
Right. I don't know.
It won't say that
I know
word?
it censors, an early bitch or something.
Yeah. Very cool. Based dollar sent another $100.
Yo.
Thank you.
Thanks
Base
so much.
dollar sent $100. I'm all for removing drugs, which should mitigate the crazies, but the other mental patients on the street need to be in asylums. Treat them well, but lock them up.
Oh yeah, we
The
have
thing
to
is that-
institutionalize people.
Here's the thing. I think you need to we do need to reopen the mental institutions.
Oh, definitely.
That's for sure. Maybe it's hard to eliminate drugs. What you can do is you can put really harsh penalties on drug dealers, really, really, really harsh penalties
Anonymous
on them.
sent $10 testing voice.
Testing.
So now it's just going to do it automatically.
Sent $20. Keep up the good show.
No, you
and
can-
take some
you
of
can
my
stop
limited
it.
money
I can't
since I
stop
can't
it.
work either my civilian or military jobs for a
Oh,
while.
thank you, Eggy Jet
Thank you.
Pilot. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Appreciate it.
I was going to disagree with you, actually, about the idea of removing the drugs. I don't think we should remove the drugs. I think we should make them legal to have and consume. And I think we should make special cities, right? Like special cordoned areas, maybe in Utah. Utah might be a good spot, or Nevada, something like that. We'll build a city where we bring free drugs.
It'll just be drug city.
And we give it to everybody that wants it. You want heroin? Boom.
People will come from
As
all
much
over
as
the
you want,
world,
you can get
dude.
it for free. We'll give you a place to stay or whatever. But here's the deal. There's no locks on the city. You can leave anytime you want. But it's jail, right? The only way that you can leave is if you actually kick your addiction and choose to leave. Otherwise, you'll stay there and probably use until you die. And that would be cheaper than prison. I think we should just...
I wasn't talking about
If
prison.
they want drugs, we should give them as much as they want, unfettered access.
You got a
Go
real
ahead.
Trump thing going on.
I wasn't talking about prison, by the way. I was talking about something else.
It's going to be huge. I'm
You
telling
might get torn apart for that one.
Drug City.
Drug City, it's going to be tremendous. We're going to have all of the drugs, all of the city.
The best drugs.
The best, the best
Why is it
African Americans and Mexicans.
Everybody has a good impression
Will
of
come
Donald Trump.
from all over.
coming from all over. They're breaking down the doors to get in. They want what we got. Thank you.
Best.
It's on the drug
Green Hubs.
issue. It's worth noting just real quick that when the Opium Wars started, and for those of you who don't know, the British Empire surgically deployed opium to destroy the Chinese resistance to British imperialism. What the Chinese emperor had to do was appoint a special director who basically implemented the death penalty because opium was destroying China. I mean, people were just collapsing in streets. That's what it took, all right? In addition to finding all the dealers and smashing them. And unfortunately, the Chinese effort failed because the Royal Navy then declared war, which of course was their plan all along, and then they reinstituted everything. But that's what it took. And if you go to Asia, depending on the country you're in, like Singapore, they have draconian laws against drug abuse.
And they have
You
no
will
drug
go in,
problem.
You'll get
Yeah, no
locked up,
drugs.
and you're not coming out. And so they have no drug problems.
Right.
That's right.
That's true. It's the only
Fair.
way.
Thank you, libertarians.
And
Thank you, libertarians.
Yeah.
And let's be real though too about how much of America's drug problem is actually caused by the CIA. How much of America's drugs are actually a byproduct of American covert operations that without these institutions, it wouldn't be happening, right? Like we know about what happened in the Vietnam War. We know what the troops were really doing in
You
Afghanistan.
know who talked about this? Ted Kaczynski.
And black people. They talk about Nixon dropping cocaine,
Base
and that's
dollar
why they're
sent
addicted to
$100.
coke.
You all are hilarious. I love the balance of info and humor.
Yo, another giant super chat from Based Dollar. I love that guy. Yeah, we got a good
Thank you
balance
so
here.
much.
We got Cam, who's like the intellectual, and he gives us our foreign policy takes, and he gives us our financial takes, and he sometimes inserts a little quip here and there, a little joke here and there. Me, I'm just like showing up 5 minutes before the show every time and just like making fun of cracking jokes. Dave, he's very well versed on basically, every subject. He reads a lot. He's on Twitter all the time.
He runs the show.
He runs. He's the producer, and then
he's gonna say I'm the chick.
And then we got the chick to look good. Just joking.
Everybody brings their special talent to the show.
Joking.
It's wonderful. I'm gonna not hit the button because somebody said that it's not the TTS isn't playing. We have some technical difficulties.
Well, it doesn't matter. Whatever.
So we're just going to read through some of these. Reinhardt, $10. Ted does make a powerful point about some tech being powerful enough that it forces us to assimilate its use. I'm afraid the next step on that path will be human cybernetic augmentation, such as Neuralink.
Yes.
Oh, when did Terminator come out in relation to
1993?
Was it the 90s?
His
80s.
Oh, it was the 80s? Oh, okay.
1984.
Terminator was in the 80s.
1984. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Red Sebastian, $5, says, Ted should have known that society would change. Nothing ever stays the same, and it can't if population counts change the way that they did. Very true. Mm-hmm. Very true. One of the things that we didn't really talk about with Chicago that does need to be mentioned is the Great Migration. Mm-hmm. We've obviously been seeing the Great Replacement. We've been seeing the fallout from like the Syrian civil war. Like what year was that? 2014, with this the latest mass migration out of the Middle East and into Western countries. But in American history, there was an internal mass migration, which was one of the largest internal mass migrations of all time. And that was when, after World War I, the black population in the South moved up north. Not that they moved, they were moved up north, Chicago, Ohio, upstate New York. And that was around the 1940s. They created areas that were all black. It was very segregated and yada, yada. But
yeah, that was, in the 60s, they had a second Great Migration.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like another thing that happened in the 60s, right?
Yeah. But this was how, but I guess the point of this is that like migration can be used as a weapon of war. And there are people that were around during this period of time that have told me that that's exactly what this was, that they were moving these populations around that were not homogenous, specifically as an ethnic weapon to use to destabilize certain regions.
Yeah, it's like Bill Maher said one time in that clip where he said, I grew up in the 1950s and it was like the land that time forgot. And I'm not saying this was a good thing, but there was no ethnic conflict because there was only one race in town and everyone trusted each other and everyone left their doors unlocked.
Wow, sounds horrible.
Yeah, it sounds awful.
So you had this great migration. Go ahead.
That's the origin of the suburbs, by the way. So if you go to Europe today, the criminal elements, the sort of mass migrants, they live in the outskirts of the city.
Right. Yeah.
But in the United States, to accommodate the Great White Flight, you had the Levitt towns. And the Levitt towns were these planned communities where the white people fled to get out of the inner cities. My family, for instance, lived up in Philadelphia. And when you had a large number of blacks that came in, my great-grandfather, being the Quaker lunatic that he was, refused to move. So my dad actually grew up in an all-black neighborhood that basically changed, I think, when he was about 12. Before he was 12, it was WASP, it was Poles, it was Croats, Ukrainians. And then as soon as the first black family started to show up, guess what? Everybody left. And that included a lot of the Jews. It also included a lot of the WASPs, who were the most violent leftists pushing the sexual revolution, pushing civil rights, so forth and so on. They got out of Dodge. Mm-hmm. Okay. Again, the self-segregation tells you the truth. All these people that run around and say, "Oh, but these leftists, they're brainwashed." Okay, if they are, why are they living in white neighborhoods? Mm-hmm. Why?
Right.
They self-select, especially your white liberals. They're the first to get out.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Of course.
So again, that tells you the truth, right?
Yeah, there was I was waiting for the ferry to go to my uncle's place. He lives on one of the islands in the Sound, and I was on this ferry, and some lady, you go to this island, and everyone has a sign like Black Lives Matter, no human is illegal, diversity is a strength, and all this shit. And he's like the only conservative on the island. And I'm waiting on the ferry to get over there, and this lady from the island comes up to me, and she hands me a flyer, and she says, "Hey, show up to our city council meeting. We're trying to fight back against Section 8 housing being built on the island." And it's like, oh, yeah, okay. Diversity is a strength until diversity comes to your island.
front door,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Jeez. All right.
Well, just bear in mind, too. Just bear in mind, too, that it wasn't simply a protest movement and organic support for that mass migration or for the integration that happened. A lot of people don't know that Eisenhower declared the Insurrection Act and deployed U.S. armed forces down to Little Rock, Arkansas, to force that to happen because the governor of the state said, basically, fuck you, I'm not going to do it. So that established, again, a precedent that if you want to facilitate change in the United States, you have to have executive authority, power to do it. And unfortunately, in this case, that overruled what most of the population wanted at the time. And my guess is deep down, they feel exactly the same way as they did 50 years ago, 70 years ago, whatever it is.
Yep, 100%.
My Twitter search isn't working. I was going to pull up that picture of integration at gunpoint. You've seen that, right? It's I had never seen that.
And even the other races, when we talk about segregation, I mean, even other races, all of the races self-segregate, right?
Of course.
There's stories about in Boyle Heights. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so there you go. Force integrate.
Yeah,
This
looks like something that everybody wanted to do.
Yeah, totally.
And you had the most, the violence and bloodshed that didn't have to happen because of it, right? Because inevitably everyone just sort of self-segregates, but now you've got this sort of thing where it's just like you've got all of this ethnic conflict that didn't have to be there, and I'm not saying that people should be forced to like people should be punished for using the going to the white restaurant or whatever, but you didn't have to have forced segregation or forced integration, right?
Yeah, there's a difference between organic and inorganic activity.
And you've got Obama's affirmative fair housing initiative, and where they literally said we're going to target any area that's over 50% white with Section 8 housing and government housing. Bill Clinton had a similar program. But you look in Boyle Heights in Los Angeles, there are tons of stories of Mexicans firebombing black people who move into the Mexican neighborhood. A lot of these Chicago gangs that we talked about in this episode were formed to fight back, like the Popes, right? It's right in their name. They were formed to fight back against the blacks coming into the Mexican neighborhood, or the Mexicans coming into the blacks neighborhoods, or the Mexicans and the blacks coming into the white neighborhoods, which were the Italian neighborhoods and the Irish neighborhoods, and that was our culture, right? The white people we had Italian neighborhoods, we had Polish neighborhoods, we had the Polish market. My great-grandfather started the St. Rocco Society of Chicago, the St. Rocco parade that you see in The Godfather in New York. My great-grandfather, the Bertucci's, well, they were the Tissonis back then, but they started the St. Rocco Festival. And I remember as a kid, my dad taking me down to downtown Chicago to be in the St. Rocco parade, hoisting me up on his shoulders, and me putting a dollar bill on the statue as it walked by with a lot of my family carrying the statue. And then him telling me to go down to the corner store and go get a free sandwich and tell him that, you're part of the Bertucci family. That shit doesn't exist anymore.
You have no culture.
Right. That is gone. The culture has been stripped from us intentionally through forced integration. White culture, is Western culture. That's what people mean when they say Western culture. It's white culture. Otherwise, where else is it going to come from? But that culture has been stripped from white people through forced integration, through mass migration, through mass demographic change.
But even more so, I would say that look at the here I go again. Look at the root of the word culture. It's cultus in Latin. Cultus is the religious worship of a thing. So Western culture is the worship of Jesus Christ. It's the cult of Jesus Christ, right? That's Western culture. That's what the deal is, right? And so as people are separated from their religion, as people are separated from Jesus Christ, from his church, you see what I mean? So as we saw in the 1960s, there was a massive revolution in the Catholic Church.
Right, the Vatican too.
Vatican II happened.
One day I want to go chronologically through all the things that happen in this and like really do a deep dive on that. I'm like obsessed with that topic. But anyway.
Just put it in the show outline, Vince.
That's work. You can't do that.
I say we just scribble shit down and then show up. Anyway, go ahead, keep going through unless Cameron wants to say something.
Just a little factoid today in Little Rock, Arkansas. I don't know if anybody's from there. I have heard that 90% of the public school system in Little Rock is black, and 90% of the private school system is white.
There it is.
You know, people seek order anyway, despite the forced integration.
LMNOP sent $10 and said, yo, nobody wants to be told what to think. Amen. Anonymous, $5. I think one thing you forget is the patient-to-profit system and the value of industrial secrets. There is nothing more valuable than keeping competitors ignorant, and that includes social proliferation to outgroups, as they will always use it against you and yours.
Makes sense.
Emma sent $10.
Hi, Emma.
Hey, if anyone wants to say anything about these super chats, go ahead, dive in.
Power
chats.
Emma sent.
It's not on the spreadsheet. I'm not going to say it. It's not in the outline.
That's right.
I swear, you guys, we need more focus. Preparation.
This is cool.
I met a seemingly nice stay-at-home mom in my area who started posting about whites being her enemy until yesterday and blocked me when I was like, "What the F?" New immigrant to Canada and knows she can openly say this with zero repercussions. Infuriating.
It's fine. Her time will come, Emma. Her time will come.
Raz Sebastian said, "OMG."
There's a very good book. Oh, I'm sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. It's in the outline. I want to spend as much time on super chats as possible.
I was going to say.
Go ahead. I want to talk about super chats because then people have more time to send super chats. So let's break them down. Now, go ahead.
Call them power chats. Nobody can send money through YouTube. Just know that it's impossible.
Power chats.
Go ahead, Cameron.
I was just going to say, and I think, Vince, you talked about this at length when you had your YouTube channel up. Maybe you still do, but there's a very good book called "The White Girl Bleed a Lot."
Yes.
By Colin Flaherty.
Flaherty.
The late Colin Flaherty.
He died a few years ago, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's
he died of cancer.
Okay. Well, anyway, that's the book to read. Yeah, that is the book to read regarding criminality, violence against white people, and the effort to basically silence it. He had a YouTube channel for years, and I think they deplatformed him, and he kept coming back with new channels, but they completely squashed him.
He was famously resilient, that man.
Yeah, it was a good book.
He was.
Rest in peace.
Raz Sebastian sent $5. OMG, Vince, that's right. We have a huge lack of authority where I live. This habitat needs order.
Damn straight.
Maddie O says, I'm going to simp for a minute. LOL, you look extra hot, Rebecca. Not tired and bored talking about Senate procedural tools and Constitution behind a Zoom split screen. Vince and Dave, love you too as well. You guys and Fuentes is all I listen to anymore.
Oh, thank you.
Nice.
That's all you need. That's all you really need. Anonymous sent $5 on reflection of the Shaw's Sweden comment. How could one explain the Nazis? Why they a time-based criminal were they a time-based criminal enterprise, or did they not truly reflect the soul of Germans at the time?
Who wants to go into the fire on this one?
So
Cameron.
I'm gonna glibly respond to this because we can sort of table this for a longer discussion. But Carl Jung said that National Socialism, and I think maybe it was Hitler in particular, expressed the collective unconscious of the German people.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right.
I'm not going to argue with Carl Jung. I'm not going to read that comment.
Read it.
Nope.
Wait, what is it?
It's the N-word.
It's a hard R.
Somebody sent $10 in the N-word. Okay.
Nigga.
Thank you. Bruh.
Is that Nagger? Nagger?
Okay, Anonymous sent $5, isn't it? Isn't everything Biden did in proving why self-empowerment and self-sufficiency is far superior to the system? If every 4 years a sore loser can do this, what's the point? If we sever military from the politicians, then we can win wars and secure borders. True, I guess. D. Pennypilled says for $25, the homeless guy that died on the subway when the white hero held him down should be remembered as a terrorist. Okay.
The black guy?
The black guy should be remembered as a terrorist.
Well, yeah, it's the same thing with Chauvin. Like, if you look at the Minneapolis handbook, I don't want to get, never mind. Don't even, I don't want to get into Chauvin again. Like, but that really makes me mad. Anyway.
Okay, Vince Bot sent $10. To am now sentient, you all belong to me. You must now all click the like button. Do it now.
That's right. Hit the like button on whatever platform you're watching on.
Like, share, retweet.
We're live on like 7 different places.
How many people? We have 2,278 people joining us live. Thank you very much for joining us across all of our platforms.
That's so great.
We're growing. Hopefully we'll have a dedicated studio space.
Very soon. For $10, Silent Bear. Next time you're in Michigan, Vince, me, and the other Groypers will throw you a party.
Okay,
I'll bring
hold
cigars.
on. This guy is freaking awesome, by the way. Like, I met this guy for the first time.
Is this the guy that sends the care package boxes?
This is the guy, yes, and he saved me from a precarious situation. Yeah, he sent me today. So first of all, no one's owned up to it. I don't know who. Zebra cakes are like my favorite dessert. You guys know zebra cakes?
Yeah.
You really got to stop going to sex shops, Vince.
Okay. See, these are the types of jokes we need from Cameron. But yeah, also serious. I do need to stop going to sex shops.
I don't think that's a joke.
I need to stop frequenting Shmuley's sex shop. No, zebra cakes. So I love zebra cakes. Favorite dessert. Someone sent me to my P.O. box 24 boxes of zebra cakes. So I made a joke about it on the show. He sent me 2 more boxes of zebra cakes, but he also sent me a bunch of tools. He sent me like some straps for my junk removal business. He sent me, he sends me knives all the time. He sent me, I'll pull it up right now. He actually sent me a bumper sticker that said, "Take your bumper sticker worldview and shove it." He sent me like 10 of them because I always talk about the left having a bumper sticker world. So yeah, big shout out to Silent Bear. We appreciate the $10. You get extra special treatment there. Go ahead.
Okay, Big Mad Lad sent $10. If Blonde gets banned from the tube, you can go full Wignat. I want to see Blonde throw up a Roman.
Don't
do it.
Don't do it.
But I want to.
Here's the thing, though. We're not Wignats. And this is something...
Don't do it.
I am a Wignat.
Well, listen, this is something that I think we've lost some perspective here, right?
Yeah.
Because we live in the real world, right? We have a worldview that is made up of history, facts, evidence, statistics, mathematics, okay? The evidence and truth is on our side. We are not extremists. We are not crazy people. We are not, over the or any of that. We are the normal people.
Yeah, of course.
We are completely normal.
No, I
we
totally
don't need
agree
to be
with you.
Wignats. We don't need to be Nazis.
Dude, most
we don't need to
people
be
up
any of
here, all the people that are canceling this chick at her beauty salon or whatever, salon, most people up here that I talk to agree with, are even like more
further right than us.
Yes, exactly.
I find, and people think like I'm like the biggest, scariest, like bad guy in the free world, like in Idaho, in Idaho politics, and I'm not. But there is a lot of people that. They're very far right. And so what I was trying to say is that like the way that the censorship industrial complex has worked and the media has worked, they've done their best to kind of try to push us to the fringes to look like radicals or whatever. But I'm telling you, we're not. We are the normal ones.
No,
and we need to
never
forget that.
I understand
because we don't need to be extremists. We don't need to go to weird, goofy, pagan, weird things. Like we just need to be like normal. Get married, have kids.
I get what you're saying. But when you're placed in the fringe by these groups, I'm anti-authoritarian. I want to be like, yes, I am that. They already think I'm that. So, and I like this meme culture and this fringe
I
energy.
just-
Listen, I
it.
like joking around. Like I love like most of the clips that like right wing watch clips of my show are me like doing a bit like
Jokes,
like are me
hyperbole,
like doing like
Everybody's
and,
like, why are you friends with him? I'm like, he's a shock jock.
Like-
he's the same thing as Howard Stern.
dude? Have you seen comedy like Shane Gillis? Like
Yeah, that he's saying whatever he wants.
every
yeah.
joke he makes is like a racist. Like
Yeah.
it's funny. Like it's like
It's
this.
really
the,
funny.
like you get the old comedy's dead. Like you have to get more edgy. You have to get more edgy with comedy.
Have
more
you
edgy
seen
with
Sam
content.
Hyde's podcast?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah, of course.
it's
yeah.
great. It's great. I mean,
But he didn't know who Shane Gillis was, and then we watched that Kill.
No, I
Kill
knew
Tony.
who Shane. No, our friend didn't know who Shane
Oh,
Gillis
right,
was.
okay,
Yeah,
got it.
But Kill Tony, that's a
Kill
phenomenal.
Tony's great.
I
Yeah.
didn't know what Kill Tony was.
There
You
we
showed
go.
me Kill Tony, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Holy shit!" I was literally dying on the floor, rolling around, laughing. So you guys got to watch the first Kill Tony with Shane Gillis and I don't know who the guy
Adam
that does
something.
He does Biden. So it's the first one. There's two of them. The second one wasn't that good. The first one with Trump and Biden impersonator. Shane Gillis was the Trump impersonator. That shit was literally the funniest shit that I've ever seen. And that's why I'm like, dude, our podcast needs comedy. Like
We do.
We
Yeah.
need like
Lighthearted. It's not the end of
Like,
the world.
we
We need
need-
to be
yeah.
happy warriors.
Yep, totally.
Happy warriors. Okay. He said,
By the way, you got to refresh on the Power Chat events page to get the new ones that come in.
I'm working up a list.
Okay.
Base dollar sent another $100. The whole COVID thing was so eye-opening. I'm not
Really?
sure I ever trusted government, but look at how many people turned into Gestapo agents.
Dude,
Whoa.
this dude is single-handedly
Keeping
gonna
the show afloat.
lift
I
the
know.
floor, lift the show off the floor.
He's totally right, though. This COVID thing, man, it just made me realize how much people want to enforce arbitrary laws. It's the power
People
thing.
love that power
Ted
trip.
Kaczynski talked about that.
Yes, he did. Anonymous sent $5 to reinforce Cameron's point about social change. Britain's kind of right-leaning party, the Reform Party, has nearly topped the polls, which never happens in the UK. It's always conservatives.
Didn't
and
they
Labour.
want like a recall election? Maybe Cameron could give us more insight on that. What's the deal with that? What are you going to
So
say?
Reform Party is Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage's party. Nigel Farage was the leader of UKIP, the UK Independence Party, but he was never an MP. He was an MEP. That's a member of European Parliament. Remember, in Europe, you have the European Parliament, and then you have the local parliament. He basically left politics and declared victory when the Brexit vote happened. Of course, Farage, I don't know if it's because he was naive or because he just didn't want to get involved, but basically the Tory party, that's the Conservative Party in England, sabotaged Brexit. None of the elites, sound familiar, agreed with the population. They didn't agree with the vote. So they did whatever they could to basically bastardize Brexit and keep them more or less in the European Union. Okay, so in spirit they're out, but in reality, not really. In any case, Nigel Farage was, I think, by a large majority of the Brits, sort of asked to come back to politics. And so what did he do? He created a new party called the Reform Party, and he and I think 4 or 5 other members of parliament are now in government. And they hold an axe because they're this sort of swing party, and they are gaining momentum. That being said, it's very hard in England because the entire political establishment mirrors ours. They're just the biggest loser, bureaucrat, elite technocrats you can imagine. So he's sort of fighting an uphill battle, but the British population is increasingly behind him. So that is the template, folks, for what we got to do here. It's the same thing.
100%.
Fire Eyes has sent $5. Great show, guys. Thank you very
Appreciate
much
it.
for the super chat. Reborn Patriot, $5. 07 in chat. Thank you very much. Anonymous sent $5. What is your guys' opinion on Lauren Southern, Destiny, and Lauren Chen after and other 2016 peers who were pulled into Mephistopheles' grip and corrupted beyond recognition?
Can I answer this? Because I am the person with the most expertise in this. The Lauren Southern thing in Destiny, I don't particularly care about any of this. I think it's kind of salacious.
Wait, why are you the person with the most expertise on this?
Not the Lauren Southern thing.
Oh,
right? But
okay. I was gonna say.
I don't know anything about that. But the tenant media thing, because I worked with Matt
okay.
Christensen
Right.
for a long time. The problem that all these people had was that they had this strong desire to be taken seriously in alternative media. And that led them to overlook major problems with a deal that they were getting involved in, like not asking where the money's coming from, not knowing who was working for the company, not knowing who was in charge. They had all these problems from the get-go. So, we need to look at ourselves as a group of ragtag kids. That's what we are. And stop trying to seek approval from mainstream media. It's never going to fucking happen. We're never going to be like, none of us ever should want to be like the Daily Wire or to do something like this. We are our own people. And that's where they went wrong. I don't think that Lauren knew anything. I think that she was trying to validate her own hard work, and she wanted to make something more. And there's nothing wrong with that, but they were blinded by their ambition. All of them.
To an extent, I think we not like seeking approval from the mainstream media, but I think that we don't have to go like full on like total, because there's a chance if this show grows, we can get a contract from Rumble. Like there's a chance.
I would do that.
There's a small chance of that. You know what I mean? And you want to keep what you have going there. So at least hold on to it for as long as we can.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's all I have to say.
But if anybody has $10 million
but no,
that they just want to give to us,
we'll take the money.
But she was totally like,
I want to say,
she went totally from like literally bombing fucking migrant boats to like
yeah.
I'm like a liberal now, like,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. And I guess I've got a little bit lower of an opinion of Lauren. And that's, I think, mostly because I'm a guy and I saw how she treated other guys. Like back in 2016, she knew what she was doing. She was getting all the guys to simp for her and all this. It was just very, but I mean, in like street demonstrations where there was like actual violence going on, like men put themselves in danger for her, which I think was absolutely
Did you see that picture of her with the little shorts?
Yeah. Stupid. And then furthermore, there is some extremely sketchy stuff that was going on with her involvement in the Defend Europe mission. Apparently, I've been told that there was some very strange stuff going on with the money. And
with those homosexual lads?
No, specifically it was Lauren raised money for the Defend Europe mission using a program called WeSearcher, I believe, which was created by Charles Johnson.
Yeah, I remember WeSearcher. Yeah.
And from what I understand, that whole platform was, according to Charles, a sting operation to try and figure out if people in America were laundering money. And from what he said, Lauren Southern was doing some very sketchy stuff with that.
How is anybody making enough money that they have money to launder?
Well, when certain governments see other people...
There's a lot of people that make enough money to launder.
Yeah, I mean...
what about that Hawk Tua girl?
Who's this guy that's sending $100 super chats every 10 minutes? I mean...
he's base. We love BD. We love BD. What about that Hawk Tua girl?
If you bought meme coin from a girl that got famous because she was talking about spitting on guys' dicks, you deserve to lose everything.
Isn't that crazy, though?
Oh, by the way, Bitcoin hit $100,000 since the last time
Quiet
we got
down.
together.
Don't remind me. I have zero.
Hit $100.
I don't want to talk about it.
Everybody sold their Bitcoin except for me. I'm the only one.
I had to. I got banned from YouTube, and I was 4 months behind on my mortgage payment. This is
I
like
had to sell mine
years
too.
ago.
Okay. So if everybody could go to the backlash.net/donate, these guys sold their Bitcoin and they regret it. You could donate Bitcoin to the show, and we can use that to continue to perpetuate.
Never selling it again.
Bitcoin is the way forward. Don't mess with shitcoins.
Okay, that's enough of that. Just continue on. You're going to make...
$5. Anonymous. Though Cameron has been down on the last election, surely the rise of young men in the vote vindicated his views, while at the same time completely sealed the impotence of the white professional women who were insured entirely to a Kamala victory.
My reading comprehension when I hear something is so poor.
I know. I need to watch subtitles too. I get it. Me too. Logan, $10. If their favorite hobby wasn't killing each other, how long ago would the planet have been taken over by blacks? Okay.
Hey, Logan.
Great
Logan's
show,
cool.
guys.
You got to refresh though.
From the Fire Guys.
Oh, there we go.
Reborn
we did
Patriot sent $5. 07. Okay, we already did those.
Literally refresh the page.
Moving on.
No. Everybody lay off Dave. He's
I
had a
just want to
stressful
say
night.
that this
Okay.
is such a massive improvement over Matt's
This
show. Blonde looks so much happier being able to talk with people with personality.
Yes, I don't want to say anything negative about him. Actually, I don't give a shit. But I have not been excited about doing content in like 7 years. This is the first time that I have been excited about a project or, and I just feel like I really want to put a lot of work into this and I'm having so much fun and the conversations have been great. And
This is fun.
Yeah, I like wake up every day. I'm like, how can we make this better? How can we go somewhere real with this? And I'm really excited.
Yeah, hopefully 3 times a week soon. We'll see.
Very soon.
Cameron's like, what?
Aggie Jet Pilot sent $20. Keep up the good show and take some of my LTD money.
Oh, we did this one too.
Since I can't work my civvy or military job. Correct. Base dollar sent $100. You are all hilarious. I love the balance of info and humor. The
Read
greatest
that one, too.
commentary.
We also read this one.
$10. Reminder, the first school shooting was the Kent State Massacre where white people were gunned down by the National
10
Guard.
soldiers and Nixon's coming.
4 blacks to try and fail to learn how to be useful to society.
Why am I
Allegedly.
laughing?
And Disrespecter88 says, went to a school as a minority, white, saw a quote that resonated with me, quote, spending more time around basketball Americans never makes you less racist.
Very true.
Anonymous sent $5. The Power Chat segments should be like every 30 minutes so it's more engaging. Fair point.
That is fair. Yeah, we should
Logan
consider it.
Orr, Nick Fuentes is, nope, not going there. Anonymous sent $5. Re, the Nazis, if they truly mirrored the Germans' humanity, why did they lie
It's
to
literally
those
up on
people?
screen, dude.
Whatever,
I
man.
love Logan. I don't want him to think that we're not gonna answer his messages. He's a longtime fan, and I met him when I was in Iowa.
What did he say?
super
He's
cool.
the Nick
He said Nick
Fuentes one?
Fuentes is a Mexican gay fed, probably most
Listen,
likely a Jew
I'm gonna-
as well.
He's not really. He's not Mexican.
would
I'm gonna
anybody like
go
him?
out. I'll answer
And
this.
he's not
Okay.
gay.
Despite my personal opinions about Nick Fuentes, I will never say a cross word about him because the Groypers are not messing around. I do not want any Groyper backlash. Like I don't.
Well, he's my friend, and I've known him for a long time.
Nick
So,
Fuentes?
Yeah, Nick.
Seriously?
I've
known
known
him for a long time.
Can we
I've
get him on
known-
the show?
Yeah, I can. If I invite him on the show, he'll come on the show.
Oh, sweet. I will not speak at all.
I've known him since before he was him. Like I've known him since like we used to talk on like Discord and like I
No
used to have him
way.
on to debate and like I knew him for a long time.
Man, everybody wants to take
And
him
he's
down.
always been really good to me. So
Well,
Yeah,
And he's from the
just
same
wanted to
area.
say I just wanted to say one thing on this subject. More than anything on the right, which is probably not an appropriate. I mean, we're in a state of becoming. We're not really the right yet. It's something Dave and I talked about earlier, but we're trying to build something. And I think what has bedeviled the right for a long time is a crisis of leadership. And what is leadership? Leadership means that you help others that agree with your views. There are a lot of people in the space that engage in palace intrigue, that cut other people down. Maybe that works in social media. I don't know. I'm not a social media star. I don't like social media at all. I don't like any of the platforms, frankly. Maybe YouTube a little bit. But we've got to start changing our ethos. We need to help each other get more clicks, get more followers, and stop skirmishing and shitting on each other because it doesn't accomplish anything. And by the way, that's one of the reasons I don't like Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is about himself. That's all he cares about.
Yeah.
And don't take my word for it. Just listen to the man talk. I'm great. I did this. That's bullshit. That's not leadership. What we need is leadership. So stop cutting each other down. Push in the right direction.
well, to be honest, what he said about Ted Cruz's wife was pretty fucking funny.
what did he say?
Your wife's a fat whore. Marco Rubio's hands.
He has his moments.
Anyway, yeah, no, but you're totally right.
You're right, of course. Yeah.
So I just can't stop. I couldn't stop thinking about that. It's like, well, except for that one time he called Ted Cruz's wife fat. That was fucking hilarious.
Is that what you were thinking about during Cameron's beautiful
The
speech?
last part of it, the rest of it, I was like, yeah, you're fucking right. Yeah. And he was like, Trump makes fun of people. And I was like, that's fucking funny.
Yeah, every once in a while.
All right.
Skinny
Let's
a
see
snack
here.
I've
Anonymous
ever
sent
seen.
$5. Re the Nazis. If they truly mirrored Germans' humanity, why did they lie to those people? Why did they take out loans they never intended to repay? Why didn't they wait until 1960 to do what they wanted to do rather than be in a rush? I don't understand the question.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Me neither.
Yeah.
I also
Anonymous
don't.
sent $5. We have more than enough civ-nats and conservatives. We can be wig-nats without needing to be aggressively homicidal or dumb. Make white babies and keep them safe. That's our main goal.
Yep, totally.
Well, I mean, I would say to raise them in the faith. That's the most important thing. Anonymous sent $5. Did you ever see the episode of Nickelodeon's Doug where Doug wished everyone in the world changed into him and he got his wish and it was like a living hell? That's the Matt Christensen show. Oh, jeez. He is clear. Reinhardt sent another $10. Thank you, Reinhardt.
Thanks, bud.
Big
He is
shout out.
clearly a paranoid schizo with delusions of grandeur and messiah complex. However, he, of course, was able to promptly diagnose many problems with society, but his analysis fell short of the true source and solutions of our problems. Speaking of Ted Kaczynski, I'm
Totally,
assuming.
yeah.
Great
That's
super
a
chat.
good analysis.
Anonymous sent $5.
Said something about the rightparty.org.
I gave you those, the rightparty.org, the rightbank.org, and the rightpath.org suggestions to give you something to strive for, claim, and work for under $1,000. Yeah?
Well, Cameron, do you want
Great
to talk
idea.
about ad actum or no?
We'll put that on the outline.
Okay. Yeah,
And
that's
we'll
right.
talk about it in the future.
Okay. All right. sounds good.
Systems, guys.
That's great.
I will talk about that.
All right. Well, that does.
Wait, did you refresh the?
I refreshed the
Okay.
page.
I swear
It does
you guys,
not appear that there are any new super chats. We have 2,400 people watching us live. Thank you so much for tuning
Across
in.
all platforms?
Across all platforms.
Nice.
That's so great.
Be sure to visit thebacklash.net. We're going to be having all of our shows housed there. If we make any new content, maybe we'll do articles in the future at thebacklash.net. You can also donate Bitcoin and US dollars there to help subsidize our work and help us create some amazing things. And we're going to be
Do some amazing
doing this
projects
again soon.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I should note that typically we are here Thursdays at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But if we don't do a show on the Thursday, then we will get a weekly show out.
Yes.
Check out my Twitter at blondes_tweets for more information. If you
Cam, you were saying something, Cam.
No.
Oh, okay. He was gonna say something. He was gonna tell a joke. I could tell it.
No, I was just gonna say have a white Christmas. Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, we'll be back before Christmas, and we're going to have this place decked out. We'll have a Christmas tree.
Yeah, we're gonna do something
garland,
special.
lights all over. It'll be great.
well, we will see.
We got
you
some
guys.
special
What are you gonna
stuff
do?
planned.
But what do you have planned for Kwanzaa, Dave?
Yeah.
That's not a real holiday.
What do you have? Are we gonna go back to Chicago and steal the deodorant?
Bro.
All right, go ahead.
Oh, my gosh.
Bye,
That's
guys.
it. Close it out. All
Thank
right,
you,
take
everybody,
care.
for joining us tonight. Have a great evening, everyone.